Hello.
Are we live?
Yes, we are. We are live on the internet. Are you ready for this shit?
Guess I'll stop talking about wieners then.
I mean, that would be good. I mean, that would be good, you know. So, we talked to AnCaps. You know, I made it talk to AnCaps because of you. So I hope you're happy. Hello. Oh, hey, what's up, man?
Unexpected. We thought Anthony was about to show up.
Yeah. There he is.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, there he is.
So there's.
We got 4 AnCappers in here.
One of which being very much a man of culture.
Me, of course.
One of which is a very, very handsome individual.
Me, of course.
That would be me.
One of which is a very handsome individual who has tons of charisma, and he's not Jewish or Hispanic.
Oh.
Whoa,
well,
whoa.
Whoa.
I am Hispanic, though.
For the record, by man of culture, I meant the one with Belle Delphine in his picture.
No.
Yeah, that's because I'm correct on everything.
No, it's because he's Aryan.
Yeah, I'm an Aryan Chad.
Yeah. Arianism.
You know, I kind of wonder, you know, how much Yamnaya admixture do you think, Jake? How much Yamnaya admixture do you think you have, Jake?
I don't know what Yamnaya is.
Yamnaya is basically an ancient Aryan admixture.
I have no idea. I didn't know that existed, so I don't know what.
Well, basically, the Nazis, they like Aryans were real people, and like that's where all Europeans come from. The difference is that the Nazis
They come from
this very
Arya?
pseudo-scientific way of understanding who the Aryans were, and it's quite funny because the Nazis, they were against the Slavs, but the Slavs have some of the highest Aryan genetics or admixture.
Wait, Aryan is an actual thing? I thought that was like a fictional thing.
It's called the Yamnaya. It's called the Yamnaya. It's you do know who the Indo-Europeans were.
Wait,
I'll be honest, I don't know much about it.
Are they kind of like the Nephilim?
No,
Aren't those
no,
giants?
No, it's a real people. It's real people.
Those are giants, aren't they? Nephilim?
Yeah.
You ever talk to the Moorish science people?
Well, unfortunately, the problem is that the whole term Aryan was like stolen by like retarded race science or like pseudo race scientists. Even though in reality it's a very real thing. It's just that they stole the concept and.
So you're saying it's a stolen concept fallacy?
No, it's not stolen concept fallacy. It's.
I know. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, the Nazis hated the Slavs, even though the Slavs have more ancient Aryan genetics than the Germans, for example.
If only there were non-AnCappers in here that we can debate with.
Patriotic conservative, hello.
Hello. We've been expecting you.
Thing is, though, Jake, Latvia has one of the highest amount of ancient Aryan genetics for. Although, if I recall correctly as well, though, some Levantine populations also had it, so you'd probably have, if I were to guess, probably like 30%.
I don't know. Maybe I'll tell you what. If you will subsidize it, I will take a DNA test.
Maybe.
I have no money right now.
Yeah, but yeah, that's fine. Actually, speaking of which, that reminds me of a story of an instance that just came up to my mind. Where I remember me and my friend, we were like, or rather, my friend was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna get a DNA kit and see what I have." And then my friend is like, "Don't you have to ejaculate into it too?" for them to inspect it.
I'm pretty sure
Wait,
they just take your mouth swab, right?
Yeah. It depends. Some of them you either spit into a tube or you do a mouth swab.
So no jerking off in a tube, huh? Damn it.
Could I ejaculate into it?
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
That'd be part of your DNA, right?
But you'd be like analyzing the children. Well,
I much prefer to do it that way.
Which way?
I always prefer anything that involves ejaculating. If there's two ways to do things, one of which does not involve ejaculating, the other one does. I choose the one that does.
What does this have to do with AnCap, guys?
There's so many things.
AnCaps are born. AnCaps have to be born. How would you get born? Boom.
Yeah, truth nerd.
Yeah.
I do want to create a race of AnCaps by like having my sperm distribution centers all over the world, and then each specimen gets a couple of books, a book for the parents on how to raise them, and then a book that the child will get when they're older about AnCap stuff. And then I want it to be millions of offspring all over the world, so that in a couple generations, I'm like Genghis Khan, billions of descendants all over the world. So a few more generations, everyone descends from me, and they've all been raised in an AnCap tradition. And so I create a race of AnCaps.
Based.
Are they gonna have sex 20 times a day?
My average is generally 5. I mean, when I'm in
Well, I would assume it would be like hyper. Like, you have an average of 5, but I feel like it would increase to 20.
Well, as wealth increases, the main reason that even when in cohabitative relationships, mine has only been an average of 5, not an average of 10 or more or something, is that, like I gotta work and stuff, so, there's the time constraint. So I feel like in a few generations, there will be enough wealth, people won't have to work nearly as much, so it'll be much more plausible to, fuck 20 times a day.
Yeah.
Anyways, anarcho-capitalism is the best, and it's way better than statism, I would say.
I could make a coherent case that an anarcho-capitalist society will make it readily available for most people to fuck 20 times a day, and that might be the best selling point for anarcho-capitalism, I feel.
You might not be wrong, because you could. I know you could buy a prostitute.
Yeah, what's that?
Do you have any questions to like for us? Like any question you'd like to have answered for AnCap?
Well, so like I would just like a better understanding of private law enforcement.
I got this.
Okay, so like, how would private law enforcement work, basically?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So, the most likely contender, or the most likely candidate for who is going to be providing your physical protection of you, other than you yourself with whatever guns you have, is your insurance company. Because your insurance company, which indemnifies you and your property, is able to provide protection for cheaper than anybody else could. Because by doing so, they're reducing claims that cause them losses. So they can, in a sense, they can provide you security at cost and still profit, whereas a security only company that's the insurer can't do that, otherwise making money. Plus, you have the factor of economies of scale to some degree, to a limited extent. So that's all that to say. Most likely, the protection industry in a modern AnCap society would be dominated by insurance companies, and then that doesn't.
You're breaking up a little bit.
Like around the clock body. I mean, maybe. I said that doesn't mean that your insurance company is providing you a round the clock bodyguard, unless you're like a VIP or something, that's probably not happening. What it more so looks like is probably something similar to 911 dispatch, where they've got either in-house or third-party subcontractors, precincts around the city or, in the area. And then when you call, like a 911 type thing, they will send, security officers to your location or to investigate a crime that you've reported or something. Now, let's suppose that there's a crime that takes place. Let's say I beat you up and rob you, right? I see you on the street, I take your phone, I take your wallet, stick a gun in your face, pistol whip you, whatever. So you then go to your insurance company about it. You call them, they send officers, but I've gotten away, let's say. They investigate and, there was cameras nearby or DNA or something. They're able to figure out it was me. Now, I've got my own insurance company. And they don't want to just take your insurance company's word for it that I did something real nasty to their client and that they should pay out for obvious reasons. So the two companies have a dispute. You could say that yours is, in a sense, acting as your personal army, and mine is acting as my personal army. But both of these firms have strong economic interest in avoiding warfare at all costs. If you want, I can describe some of those economic pressures. Suffice to say that war is the most expensive thing they could possibly do to resolve this. So what they're more likely to do, far more likely, what they historically have, is they bring the matter before a private arbitrator. So your protection company and my protection company have pre-agreed to a neutral arbitrator, a private court that sells the service of dispute resolution. And what enforces the outcome is a combination of things. You've got industry-wide backup contract networks where if you want to be in backup, you have to do everything possible to avoid conflict, such that the company that's playing by the rules, going by the verdict and so on, being amenable to arbitration, has backup, but the company that isn't playing by the rules is on their own. So you have an element of forcible enforcement, and you also have the discipline of constant dealings, which is, as David Friedman explains it, this is where when me and you go to court, if I don't outcome and so I don't go along with it, then the next time we go to court, if you don't like the outcome, you won't go along with it, and then we're back stuck at square one of having to fight each other or otherwise resolve the dispute by less desirable means. So it's in both of our interest, both short-term and long-term, to abide by the outcome. And we've seen systems that paralleled this throughout history, basically in scenarios where there isn't a monopoly on force for one reason or another. What I described was closely paralleled in the Brehon system of medieval Ireland. Similar was applicable in the Zir system of medieval Somalia. We saw similar things in the industry of private security and arbitration in stateless areas of the Old West, the American frontier. Some elements are even seen kind of between prison gangs in modern America, where there is a monopoly on force, the state, the prison, the warden and all that, but they're all choosing to disregard it, as is the nature of a prison gang. So you almost have a de facto non-monopolized force, and then they have contractual arrangements between them, various alliance pacts and so on, that kind of mimic some of the same dynamics. And when these are arrived at, even between caught criminals, they substantially de-escalate violence. I feel like I've been yammering for long enough.
Yeah, so I'm assuming if one of the two parties doesn't have an insurance company to back them up, then the one who does automatically should win in court, right?
No. Going to court in the first place, actually, I guess even for an individual, there are incentives to go to court. But having an insurance company does not automatically mean that you win the case, because is dependent on a reputation for fairness, such that they will attract both parties to a dispute. If the court seems heavily biased towards defendants, or I shouldn't say defendants, towards disputants who have, say, an insurance firm associated versus disputants who don't, then that court will repel the business of disputants who don't have an insurance firm that they're working with. So much more private adjudicators have an interest in appearing as fair and neutral and unbiased as possible. That would apply to all kinds of things too, not just like insurance company, but also things like, your race, how rich you are, stuff like that. Right, that's probably going to be the biggest one that... The funny thing about how rich you are, that's probably the one that courts are going to be the most hyper-vigilant about not appearing biased about, because looking like you're taking bribes or similar, essentially, that not only repels the poorer party to disputes, it also repels the richer party, because it's much more expensive if every time you want to settle your dispute, you have to have a bidding war against the other one. You don't want a court that takes bribes, even if you're the richer one.
So, there's, also a negative for, the wealthy who, would feel tempted to, try to bribe them at first.
I mean, look, no matter what system exists, there will sometimes be rich people trying to bribe judges. The only question is, what is the incentive structure present in the courts? And in a government court system, I think there's a piss poor incentive structure. Because, if a government judge is caught taking bribes, absolutely he's going to be disbarred. He may go to jail. I mean, they're going to make a sacrificial lamb of him, I have no doubt. I would assume, anyway, in most countries. It's going to be bad for him. However, the court has no incentive to really police this. They have no incentive to put the judges under such scrutiny and make sure that their judges are not taking bribes, because it's the government. They don't have to worry about losing customers. Their customers are captive. Many elements of criminal law, or actually I should say all of criminal law and some elements of civil law, are forcibly monopolized by the government, where you're not allowed to handle these things privately. You're not allowed to, for instance, take a robbery or murder case before a private arbitrator. And everybody has to pay for the government courts in the form of taxes. So they don't really care about their reputation for fairness and making sure there's no corruption going on. But then compare that to a private court. If a private court is known to be loosey-goosey about hiring judges that take bribes, or being the judge, if it's an owner-operator situation, if a private court is known to take bribes, that can spell the death of that court.
Gotcha.
Financially.
Okay.
Financially speaking, of course.
Yeah.
It's kind of a similar situation to a lot of government services where there's a private alternative. We can see kind of a night and day difference between the strive for satisfying the customers. And in the case of a court, a central staple of satisfying the customers is issuing fair adjudication that, when people outside the case look at it, it looks right. It smells right. That they made a sensible decision here based on the facts of the case. As opposed to, hey, this court seems to favor the rich guy or the big company in every case, or in a disproportionate number of them. In fact, government courts are kind of widely believed to have a bias in many regards. I mean, very frequently government courts are referred to as racist, or referred to as, it's always the big moneyed party with the better lawyers and, can butter the right bread. that seems to win. People say this about government courts all the time. I don't mean just like AnCaps and libertarians saying this. Just everyday people on the street will say this. Well, but that reputation, that doesn't put the government court out of business. It doesn't hurt their bottom line in any way.
If anything, it increases it.
They don't have a reason to care. And the government's only solution to this is what? Like, occasionally throw a judge under the bus as a sacrificial lamb. And, increase judicial bureaucracy, basically. Very expensively, of course.
I love World of Warcraft, and I think it's great.
What would you guys have to say to the counter argument that you guys probably hear that Iceland is an example of how AnCap doesn't work?
So, Saga period Iceland had some elements of anarcho-capitalism, but was not completely anarcho-capitalist. And the ways that it was are what brought down their system, what caused it to break down into conflict, and then conquest by Norway. Well, calling it conquest is awkward in that situation, but you know what I mean. Being taken over by the Norwegian king. So what they had in Iceland, if memory serves, they had private enforcement of law, but they did not actually have private law. They had a government legislative body. It was a central monopoly, a forced monopoly, legislative body. And then that government provided the courts, but then the courts did not have an executive arm. They didn't handle enforcement. Rather, enforcement handled privately between the disputants, and for that, they used a system of, they were kind of these chieftains called, I think they were called Godar. And to my understanding, and I really need to research this more to be able to speak on it more effectively, but within my limited understanding, the system of Godar that they had were able to utilize and leverage discrepancies in power within their political body to gain what is functionally political territory and kind of recreate, I shouldn't say recreate government, but recreate kind of a polyarchy situation, almost like a 1990s Somalia situation. And then of course that led to conflict, and then when Norway sets their sights on Iceland, the people of Iceland are like, yeah, we're sick of this conflict, let's just do that, which makes perfect sense. So I think that if they had not had the privileged class, and that being the legislative body and the monopoly, then you wouldn't have had the breakdown and conflict that led to the collapse of their system.
Also, they voted for their leaders. It was like a voting system.
Are you referencing the Godar or the legislators?
I don't know exactly, but that's what Likazulu told me, so I believe him. They had some, like, I guess they voted in their leader or something like that, and because of that, it ended up corrupting. I know you're not be saying that right.
I think there have been other instances of history that come closer to anarcho-capitalism, or depending how you define it, would constitute full-blown anarcho-capitalism. Granted, that's using capitalism loosely, because we think capitalism, we often think very modern, industrial smokestacks and, iPhones and very modern kind of stuff.
Netflix.
If we're talking, what'd you say? Netflix?
I said Netflix, yeah.
Yeah, so medieval Ireland, prior to the conquest by Cromwell, would be an example of this. They did have what Marxists would characterize as the core components of capitalism, meaning they had private property rights, They had transferability, or I should say saleability of labor. You could have employment relationships, you could have rental relationships, and so on. So Marxists would have called it capitalism. I would call it primitive capitalism. But it just didn't look like a modern industry of insurance companies and the robust systems that AnCaps described for today. It looked more along the lines of their enforcement and rights protection was handled through surety contract networks. This is a contractual arrangement where I promise to protect you, you promise to protect me, I promise to act as guarantor to your debts and vice versa, and I promise to enforce the outcomes of judicial disputes that you're a party to. You promise the same to me in return. Each of us has many other surety contract partners and can, if needed, invoke the protection of the extended networks of each. So it almost forms almost like a social immune system where you have many separate antibodies mobilized against a criminal. And then their system of dispute resolution, unlike the Icelandic, their system of dispute resolution was a decentralized, you could say, industry called the Brehon system, where it's basically just a free market of courts. Now, the Brehon were a kind of a funny thing, a peculiar career. They weren't only arbitrators, they were also the scientists and philosophers of that society, and the poets, actually. They were kind of a jack of all trades intellectual, but they largely did sell the service of dispute resolution, and throughout most of Ireland, that was the primary legal system. Now, in that system, they didn't have a legislative body, and they didn't have a monopoly court system. It's simply, if you're a Brehon, meaning you're raised in the Irish customary law from childhood, and you decide to sell your service of dispute resolution, then you're free to do that, and you'll have many competitors choosing to do the same thing. So they're operating under market forces. There's no mandatory monopoly or taxation or any of that. And now this system never broke down. What happened was eventually the English took them over. But for over 1,000 years, they had the Brehon system, possibly for far longer. But it became a written history, or a written law, in around 700 AD, and it stood until about the 17th century. About the same thing can be said of medieval Somalia. Theirs was called the Zir system, and it functioned essentially on the same principles, where these they didn't call them surety contract networks, they called them dia paying groups, but they were essentially the same basic concept. And then the arbitrators, instead of being called Brehon, they were called Zir, and they were generally clan elders. And their law, although private, common law, similar to the Irish, it was Islamic based, which is interesting. Because, they were an Islamic society.
Interesting.
We can imagine it would be very different today, both the law itself and the structures that emerge for law, just because society looks very different today. Lots of things are different today. We got iPads and shit now.
You know what I watched today? I know this has not much to do with what we're talking about, but you know what I watched today? I saw the debate between Robert Murphy and David Friedman, and I thought it was really interesting.
What did
Friedman is usually a better debate than Robert Murphy, from what I've heard.
Who's who?
I think David Friedman is a better debater.
I think he had. I think he's more charismatic, and he presents his arguments much more better. But I'm biased because I agree with Robert Murphy more. So, I get what he's saying. You know what I'm saying? So.
David Friedman learned from the best to be a charismatic speaker and debater. Milton Friedman might have been the most charismatic, endearing debater that you ever could have possibly debated in the history of the world. If you watch him speak, when Milton Friedman had a disagreement with someone. By the way, as you can imagine, I don't agree with Milton Friedman about everything.
Mm-hmm.
But when Milton Friedman had a disagreement with somebody, he never once, to my knowledge, he never got adversarial. He was never calling names. He never acted like the person he's disagreeing with is his opponent or adversary. He looked at and spoke to everybody that he had disagreements with as his friends. And he gave you a sincere smile. And I think that can go a very long way with charisma and with opening minds. And I think David has carried some of that down. I don't think he has as much charisma as his father, but his father, I mean, was the gold standard.
Yeah, I think David Friedman, he just commands respect, I think. You know, he's a very, something about him, I don't know.
I got to meet David Friedman a while back. Last like March or something when I went to Liberty Con. That was so cool. I've been a fan of his for so long. I told him that me and my ex-wife used to, at least like every week, one of us would be doing a David Friedman impression.
Yeah, David Friedman's done a lot of good work. I respect him a lot. I like his book, Machinery of Freedom.
Was Milton Friedman more of a minarchist?
Yes, Milton Friedman was we would generally say a minarchist. He was not a strict minarchist. Milton Friedman didn't operate based on like strict ethical guidelines. Like he did not believe in like the non-aggression principle. He was generally libertarian, but the principles that guided him were primarily economic principles and not ethical principles. So you could say that he was libertarian, I think, mostly by chance. That is to say, he was devoted to economic rationality. And it just so happens that his perception of economic rationality very heavily overlaps with what the libertarian prescriptions would be.
Right,
but he was
more of a statist, militarily in on the police.
I mean, he did not advocate for leaving those things up to the free market. You know, David Friedman actually spoke on that a little bit. David Friedman, the son of Milton Friedman, David Friedman, who is himself an economist of the same tradition, the Chicago School, but David is an anarcho-capitalist. David said that him and his father, towards the end of his father's life, talked about anarcho-capitalism some. So Milton did hear of anarcho-capitalism. And the difference between them, as David has put it, David has said, well, we talked about anarcho-capitalism, about privatizing everything, and I felt that it might not work but probably would. He felt that it might work but probably wouldn't. So it's not a very sharp distinction.
I heard him say that, yeah, in a video.
I think that if you gave me... Well, actually, I can't say this confidently, because if David Friedman couldn't convince him, then maybe it's very arrogant for me to say that I could. I was going to say that if you gave me a few hours with Milton, maybe I could get him on the AnCap train, but that's probably very arrogant, and knowing that David tried it.
I wanted to ask you guys, what would your response be to left-wing anarchists who say that AnCaps aren't true anarchists?
They're wrong.
I can address this. So, the confusion is that oftentimes they don't actually read their own literature. If you talk to someone who has read leftist literature, their argument is that the main difference between right-wing anarchy and left-wing anarchy is how they view property. Right-wing anarchists, they view property through homesteading, while left-wingers, left-wing anarchists, they view it through occupancy and use. And occupancy and use basically just means that you have to directly occupy or use your property for it to be valid. Otherwise, it would be fiat property. So they would say that anything that isn't under occupancy and use would be an unjust hierarchy. But then a lot of the leftists will then say, well, AnCaps aren't true because they believe in hierarchy. They're using a stolen concept fallacy. They're basically referring to what a lot of the educated ones will say. It's a distinction purely about property. And then they'll turn it about a discussion about hierarchies, even though both sides do admit that some hierarchies are fine. It's just that both of them see property differently. So I mostly just see it as a lot of them don't actually understand where the whole hierarchy versus non-hierarchy comes from, or voluntary versus involuntary hierarchy comes from.
So I can respond to this, right? Because you said a couple of things there that weren't entirely accurate. So the occupancy and use norms, that does come from like Pierre-Joseph Proudhon, right? The person who coined the term anarchism and coined it as a political philosophy as well. Now, it's not that occupancy and use are the only legitimate forms of like non-hierarchical ownership. It's that they're the only forms of ownership that don't require a centralized polity such as a state in order to enforce, right? You have the commons, you have occupancy and use norms, and these don't require a centralized institution to enforce them through violence. However, all of the private property relations under capitalism do require a centralized polity such as a state to enforce with violence. And as anarchists historically, and actually Murray Rothbard himself said, we are not anarchists, referring to anarcho-capitalism.
You're taking it out of context. You're taking it out of context.
I'm not taking it out of context. He understood that he had nothing to do with the tradition.
You haven't
I'm familiar.
Okay. No,
wait, let him. Wait, Anthony, or Dark, one at a time. Go ahead, Anthony.
He's unfamiliar with that quote. Yeah, he might have read it. But the thing is, though, it's from a very early stage of Rothbard, where Rothbard was questioning about how he ought to define his ideology. And later on, he does say maybe non-anarchist would be a better term to use. But later on in his life, he did say that anarchy is a suitable term for the logical conclusion of libertarianism, i.e., free market anarchism or market anarchy, anarcho-capitalism, whatever you want to call it.
Can I jump in? Can I make a statement real quick? I do take issue with the idea that you need a state in order to protect private property relations. I think that's not true.
We can discuss that in a minute. I just want to address this quote, though, because the full context of the quote, I have it right here on the Anarchist FAQ. We must therefore conclude that we are not anarchists, and those who call us anarchists are not on firm etymological ground and are being completely unhistorical. He's right here. The historicity of anarchism has nothing to do with
Wait, let Dark finish what he was saying.
Yeah, so anarchism as a political philosophy and a movement is completely opposed to the principles of anarcho-capitalism, and from an etymological stance, which is something that we can point to because we're looking at without rulers. Now, David Friedman himself says that he's in favor of competitive dictatorships. This is not anarchism.
What? When did David Friedman...
He's taking things out of context. I explained to him. I'm not taking it out of context because he's right. You. I understand the quote. The quote is, I understand. I know where you're coming from. The quote is true. But like I said, Rothbard later admitted that he changed his mind. Rothbard changed his mind.
Hey, Artifactor, it sounds like you're hot micing a little bit. Thank you. Go ahead, Anthony, please. Or go back a sentence.
It's true what he said. I understand that quote. I know the context of the quote. And the context he's saying is true. The problem is that Rothbard later on affirmed that anarcho-capitalism, if you want to call it that, is anarchy. That was at a very, very early stage of his life. And he was questioning whether it was a valid use. but obviously he then admitted it is a valid use.
Oh, even if he had never later come to that conclusion, Murray Rothbard, as brilliant as a lot of his work was, and as influential as he was to the anarcho-capitalist movement, he was not the grand wizard of anarcho-capitalism, and the word of Rothbard is not binding on AnCaps now and forever. I wanted to address something said a moment ago, which was the assertion that only leftist property norms can be enforced without a centralized state. I think this is demonstrably bogus. The overwhelming majority of the time that you've had large-scale societies that didn't have a centralized state, well, actually, I can't confidently say a majority, but certainly sometimes.
There's no examples, actually. I'm going to counter and say there's no examples that don't have a centralized polity such as a state that enforce the private property relations that you advocate for example, landlordism, absentee ownership. There's just no example of that.
Ooh, hot take.
Understand these constructs, the idea that there's something special about landlordism and absentee ownership, these are leftist notions. These are relatively new leftist notions, only from the last couple of centuries.
Completely
the
incorrect.
last couple of centuries. Okay, are you saying that in the 1500s people were worrying about whether an ownership claim is derived from your personal physical presence at the place? That the homestead principle was never upheld anywhere? Or that only the state has ever implemented something akin to the homestead principle? That they didn't have something like that in, for instance, the Brehon Irish common law? Or within the society?
In the Brehon Irish common law, they had slave ownership, right? But one thing we can point to is that usufruct property norms go back to classical civil law in Rome, right? The idea that, the right to use the thing and the right to, is one of the standards for how you consider a property system. Right? That's as far as it goes. Now, there's other forms of civil law that date back to that time as well. This is true, but people were establishing conceptions of this way prior to Proudhon even. And it really, classical liberals in political economy, Adam Smith and John Locke, even the notion of homesteading comes from the usufruct property norms, right? Kevin Carson talks about this and analyzes this in his studies on mutualist political economy. We know where these ideas come from. They come from a particular movement that is advocating against the feudal monarchical systems of medieval Europe and looking to establish a different kind of political and economic institution, right? So there's a lot of historicity in it. And if you go through anthropology, you find even older examples of people that, didn't have systems of landlordism. They actively rejected it. Next to groups of people that did have systems of landlordism because they had an empire or something, right? But the state as an institution or something like it, akin to it, some kind of centralized polity is required, because how else do you enforce this, idea that, I own these things that I've never seen before in my life? How could you enforce that?
If you're asking an opportunistic question, I simply hire a company to enforce it for me. And then if there is a dispute about it, the matter is brought before an arbitrator. And if I'm able to substantially, argue my case for why it's mine, such as I built the thing or I bought the thing from the guy who built it, then that's what's upheld, irrespective of whether I happen to live there right now.
Yeah, of course, the problem is that the anarcho-capitalists have never developed a theory of money. They don't even have a conception on how they are going to derive a particular monetary system. It's based on a complete misunderstanding of human history, of social relations. If you look all throughout human history, systems of currency that have been agreed upon amongst people never come because, you and me are just like, hey, buddy, I want to use this thing and you also want to use this thing, so we're going to use it as a medium of exchange. Now we have money. This is never how it's operated. It's always been imposed, by polities such as states.
I feel like we argued about this a few weeks ago, and I don't remember all of the details. But I know for a fact that societies that didn't have a central monetary planner did have things that we would generally call. Exception to that is if you're defining currency in a very narrow way that necessarily requires that it be issued by a state through, fiat currency or central banking or something.
Well,
Or I should say central money.
I'd love to see an example that we could point to.
money is merely a medium of exchange. People have been using medium of exchange without states for a while. I mean, and even in the United States, we had thousands.
I know that feels intuitive. Yeah, I know that feels intuitive. It's just not historical. I'm familiar with the story, right? I've heard it a bunch, but it's just not historical. Again, there's like anthropologists that have done work on this. I've kind of referenced the literature, and we could kind of go through examples. But what we find is that it's not a thing that exists without,
so the idea of
like a state.
So the idea of people using some sort of medium of exchange to use to exchange things, to make it easier to exchange things, that's not that has only been done by a state. Is that your argument?
So like the actual money that is created by states.
Well, a medium of money is a medium of exchange, right? But
do you define a money?
People don't only use money as a medium of exchange. People use other things as a medium of exchange, right? Like people have used seashells.
How are you defining medium of exchange? Okay, let's talk about what the medium of exchange that you believe existed once upon a time before without a state.
Well, we've had gold, right?
The gold is a thing that exists.
We have Bitcoin,
gold, silver, salt, tea bricks.
Yeah, seashells. They've used seashells before.
Who's using seashells?
What about prison economies? I mean, prison economies.
Yeah, the cigarette thing. We've all heard. It's from the Rothbard book. But hold on. Let's take it step by step, because here's what I want. First, it was mentioned gold. What examples are we talking about? I heard salt. I heard seashell. Where is this happening that we don't have a centralized polity like a state? That's what I want to know.
Well, if I'm not mistaken... Sorry, I just wanted to give one thing, and then I'll pass it back to you, Taxation, because I know you're going to go for a while. But if I'm not mistaken, a lot of blacksmiths use their craft in order to mint their own gold, and then sort of use that mint through history. I've heard that through history, but you can go ahead, Taxation. Okay. I know you could go much more in detail.
I was going to say that first I should ask, do you define money in such a fashion that it necessarily must be issued by a state, or can things that are private or things that are not state originated, such as precious metals and cryptocurrency, could they constitute monies?
Okay. Well, if its value is not just what's denominated in a state species currency, then no, that wouldn't count as something independent, right? Because if you're saying, oh, these particular, groups valued, Bitcoin because it was worth $27,000 US. Okay, well, that doesn't really help us, does it? Something that existed independent of its value to a state fiat currency. That was established by people. Yeah, we could talk about it.
I mean, but it is a medium of exchange. You would agree, right?
What if I said it was worth 2 elephants?
I mean, I could say my nuts are a medium of exchange, right?
Wait, Graham. Okay. Wait.
I think I'm hearing a fallacy that
he's doing a little retarded thing. So he's saying that because we say it's worth $27,000 US, well, that's why it doesn't count. Well, it would also be worth whatever the fuck you could buy with those $27,000, right? It's also worth whatever you're buying with that cryptocurrency.
Sure. So if I have a bunch of paper clips, right? And there's a particular business somewhere that's willing to look at what the value of this amount of paper clips is in US dollars, and I exchange them. Now my paper clips are fucking money, right?
Pretty much.
I think it's to assign as a
not only because they look at them what they're worth in US dollars, but what the buying power those paper clips are. They presumably need the paper clips.
It's a medium of exchange
for clipping fucking papers. So they're gonna look at your 100,000 paper clip.
Oh my gosh. So there's
go
two
ahead.
distinct types of value. You have use value and exchange value. Okay, so you're confusing the two just now. You said you're looking at the utility of the paper clips. That's
related.
irrelevant. We're talking about no.
Yeah,
These
let
are two
Grim
distinct
let him
concepts.
go. Let him go, Grim.
Okay. So you're talking about the utility of the paper clips, what they can be used for, okay? How they satisfy some human need. Now that's distinct from its monetary expression of what it exchanges for on a market. Those are distinct concepts. So if I'm exchanging dollars on a market or gold or something, the reason it's money is because of its exchange value, okay? It's purely embodied in exchange value, not use. Because using the money through use value takes it out of circulation. Right? That would be okay. That would be entirely deflationary to an economy. It would be terrible, right?
So we can be charitable here.
Do you think one can work without the other?
Yeah, you can have things
without the other. Yes, you can have just use value. Absolutely.
And you can have just exchange value without otherwise use value. For example, Bitcoin is totally worthless without its exchange value. You're not going to eat a Bitcoin. It's only something that you can use for its exchange value, as far as I'm aware. And I think it's fair to characterize money.
Wait, Grim, let you must allow him to finish.
Are arbitrarily kind of imposed. I don't even
I
see
think we could be charitable
for the distinction.
I think we could be charitable here and perhaps agree to classify a money as something that is traded primarily for its exchange value, not for its use value, and therefore we would be eliminating things like cigarettes and cattle and berries and so on from being currencies because they are primarily use value driven things, whereas things like precious metals and cryptocurrencies that are primarily or entirely sought for their exchange values could constitute monies or currency.
I mean, there's a use value for gold, isn't there? Like, people use it as jewelry, right?
Right, but that takes it out of circulation. I guess my point is that the thing it's
gold,
incredibly
morally. Yeah, gold is mostly used for its exchange value, especially if you go back in time. It's mostly sought for its exchange value, but you can, just like you can take a bunch of United States dollars and make a coat out of them or something, but that's not its primary use. Its primary use is its exchange value, and that's also been largely true of precious metals and cryptocurrencies. So if we agree that a precious metal as such can be a money, then this becomes very easily disposed of question that there have been many societies which, independent of any state saying they must do so, have utilized precious metals as currency. And one of the ones I mentioned earlier was medieval Ireland, in the Brehon system era, and actually for a while afterward too. They were using things like silver and gold, among other things, as their currency. Things primarily used for exchange value.
Yeah. I mean, again, medieval Ireland, I don't think this is the example that you think it is, right? I know a lot of people have ideas on it, but much like the Icelandic Commonwealth, it shares issues of hierarchy in the sense of they had province kings, right? Throughout different areas and it was based on kinship relations, so they literally had blood feuds to settle disputes. All the wealth and the rights were all kin based. It wasn't market based. It wasn't individualistic, right? So I don't think that's the example that you think it is. It's like,
when you reference province kings, I assume that you're referencing the leaders of the Tuatha, which they were called kings, but they did not have the powers of a king as we would think of them. They didn't have a monopoly on force, even in their area. They were the leaders of Tuatha, which weren't states. A Tuatha, which it reads like Tuath, by the way.
Militias. That's how they. So they literally fought through clan militias. It wasn't a privately funded military or anything like that. And they didn't even have systems of money that were native. Now they did some foreign coins that they did use, but they were foreign. They were like the Roman coins, Viking silver. That's what they used as in any instances of coinage. But
they've often used foreign coins, as well as using simply the same metals, but not in coin form. Coins are just a convenient thing, and if there's a nearby state that mints those coins and you can get your hands on some, it's very convenient. But
there's not really any examples of people using metals that are not, like stamped coinage in any
We don't even have to go that
societies.
far back. Yes, there are. We don't even have to go that far back in the American frontier. The gold dust, gold nuggets, and so on were very frequently used as a currency. In fact, it was commonplace in a bunch of areas in the Old West, especially during the gold rush, of course, that a shopkeep would have a scale on the counter, and then he would sit and measure out your gold dust when you're paying for something.
Yeah. And I wonder why that was. Could it have been that the US dollar was pegged to gold during that time period? It's like,
What? I'm pretty sure there wasn't a U.S. dollar at that time.
No, there
what time
was
are
a
we
U.S.
talking about? There were you.
It depends when you're right. It depends when we're talking about. When we're talking about the gold rush, we're talking about in the 1800s, and in the 1800s there absolutely was a dollar, and it was pegged to
And
gold.
they were all fixed exchange rates, right? Even when you had the kind of free banking, quote unquote, of the United States, they were all fixed exchange rates where they were pegged to gold.
Sure, but can you honestly say that, in your estimation, if that had not been the case, if there were no promise of dollars for gold, that the gold would have been simply worthless and not sought after?
Right, because what were they gonna do with the gold? Why would they want a bunch of gold?
To exchange the gold. Gold has been used for the purpose of being a medium of exchange globally. People have known
That's not
about gold.
true. That's not true. Outside of centralized polities imposing it, that's not true.
You're saying it's not true that what exactly?
That people use
have
money?
just independently decided to use gold as some like medium of exchange, independent of centralized polities imposing it. Like during this time period, you had a bunch of people that liked gold because it was under a fixed exchange rate regime. That's what the US dollar was pegged to, and they need US dollars to pay their taxes. So they need to go to US dollars, and you could literally go to a bank and just be like, here's gold, and they would put that in their reserves and they would give you some dollars. You understand?
Okay, how do you account then for the use of gold in Zomia? Gold and silver? I mean, who are
I
you
think
going
we
to say?
talked about this. Where did you? Oh, okay. I think we talked about this too. I think what you said was they used it. Did you send me a source on this? Because I can't remember. Maybe it said something like they used foreign
Probably
coins or
would have.
something.
It would have been, well, they also used simply bullion and dust, not just foreign coins, but they did also use foreign coins when convenient. I mean, we're talking about
Where
millions of.
did you learn that they used gold in Zomia? Because I think I mentioned, like, I read the James T. Scott book on the art of not being governed. Where does he talk about? I mean, where does that come from? I guess is the question.
I would have to look that up. I don't remember. I don't have like an internal bibliography.
No, that's fine. I'm just
I'll look
wondering
that
where
up
that
for you.
idea did it come from. James C. Scott? Did David Friedman
I,
talk about it? Where did you hear it?
I believe James C. Scott, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
I'm pulling up Chat GPT and just asking about Zomia using precious metals and asking for sources on that. Let's see. Cool. Okay. Open
And
edition journal. Here. Gold and silver were present and traded in Southeast Asia broadly. Archaeological and textual evidence shows gold widely available in the region, used as exchange and ornamentation in early Southeast Asian commercial contexts, well before widespread state coinage. Source on that, open edition journals. Gonna pull that up and see what it cites. Okay, so this is actually not specifically about Zomia. It's about Southeast Asia, including Zomia. And it's called Gold in Early Southeast Asia by Anna T. N. Bennett.
All right, let me look it up.
So that's a currency book.
You said gold in Southeast Asia. Okay, I think I found it. Gold in early Southeast Asia, and it's that openedition.org one.
By Anna T. N. Bennett.
I don't think it's really that far-fetched that people would use a medium of exchange, right? Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's also true. The idea that this would just never happen seems...
It seems a
somewhat
little
crazy.
ridiculous to me.
No, I mean,
But-
so it seems intuitive to you because you've been like indoctrinated into like capitalist market logic, but the actual
Of course.
archaeological and anthropological evidence is
Of course.
pretty
Money
It's
is
pretty-
kind of
yeah.
money is the obvious solution to the double coincidence of wants issue. We know that barter goes back, as far back as we can trace humans going.
It doesn't. That's another thing. The anthropological consensus is that there were no barter economies, right? There were these, they talk about the Adam Smith
The
story where they're like, oh,
anthropological
there's double-
consensus is that
Correct.
there was no barter.
Because
There were none of these
because a
societies
double-
that were barter economies.
because of a double coincidence of wants. Rather, the barter economy is just used as a hypothetical. Now, there have been instances of barter. Obviously, barter is still used to this day. But when
There's been
but
instances
we
of
aren't
barter,
actually
that's
talking
true.
about but we aren't actually talking about barter economies. Barter economies are just examples used of why they are flawed, not really that they actually existed. I don't think anyone's really making that argument.
They were literally making that argument, by the way. So thank you. But
Not necessarily. They were just making the argument of.
no, they literally said barter economies have existed since the beginning of human time.
You know
That's
what?
literally
Hold
what
on.
he just said.
I overspoke. The claim that I made was too large. What I should have said was that people have used barter for a very long time. So I just looked it up, and I asked ChatGPT, how far back can barter be traced? And according to ChatGPT, about 12,000 BCE, which is way shorter than all of human history. Now, granted, that only means
where's ChatGPT pulling that from? I'm curious in the first place.
So I asked ChatGPT, if you guys don't mind, can I read what it said? So there's no
Sure.
evidence that a pure barter economy ever existed. It is a primary system inside a real economy in Europe or elsewhere. That's the overwhelming consensus in modern anthropology and economic
Correct.
history. What did exist were gift economies, credit systems, status obligations,
Correct.
redistribution, and barter appearing only in specific ages. What anthropologists actually agree on, barter did not precede money. In early Europe, and
because barter is stupid, really. I mean, at least on a wide scale.
Well,
it's crazy.
it would make sense that barter, because generally barter doesn't work unless you both have something that you both value at the same time.
you've
Yeah,
got
exactly.
to
That's the thing.
So I
barter
could
doesn't
believe
make-
that.
But even within a society, you have to think about it. Barter doesn't make any sense because if you have like your neighbor who has a bunch of chickens and you have a cow, right? Like, your neighbors, you do things for each other. And of course, the case is that if you needed eggs or something, he would just give you eggs. And in the future, if you needed milk, he would give you milk because that's conducive to human survival. This is the gift, right? The gift economy that's mentioned. The first instance of writing about this is from Marcel Mauss, The Gift by Marcel Mauss in the early 20th century. David Graeber in his book, Debt, the First 5,000 Years, references pretty much all the things you just talked about. The credit system. So credit actually precedes money is what we find. Money, in the sense of a medium of exchange of some like particular item, that is always state imposed, right?
But wait, wouldn't
we
the exchange of milk or credit or something like that, wouldn't that be kind of like a medium of exchange in some way? Because you're kind of using stuff as a value. You're pinning something that has value in order to get something else, right?
Yeah, it's a medium of exchange in the same way that you like driving your mom to the doctor appointment is a medium of exchange, right? Like she has a doctor's appointment, you drive her there. That's just a norm, like a social reciprocity norm. And that's what a gift economy is. It's not a medium of exchange.
No, okay,
because
I get what
you're
you're
not
saying.
doing some like immediate transaction, right? You're just
But they didn't
doing
have
services and things.
But wasn't your claim that they didn't have any medium of exchange at all? I mean, there has to have been at least some evidence of of money
You
or
would like there to
something.
be for sure, right? Like that's what makes sense intuitively because because of the indoctrination into the market logic. But the real world doesn't operate that way when you just look at the anthropological evidence, you know? I mean, even GPT knows, and GPT is pretty stupid, but GPT even knows, right? Um, if you look at
Well, wait a minute.
credit systems
Between groups,
can exist because they're not like a medium of exchange. It's just an accounting system between individuals.
so I asked ChatGPT for after it told me 12,000 BCE. I asked it for evidence of that, and it said that the archaeological evidence looks like excavations of Neolithic settlements showing tools, pottery, and ornaments made from non-local materials. Obsidian tools from Anatolia appearing in the Levant.
Göbekli Tepe, is that what they're talking about? They're talking about Göbekli Tepe?
It didn't say anything about Laffy Taffy.
No,
It
Göbekli
said
Tepe.
obsidian.
Are they talking about Göbekli Tepe, the excavation site in Anatolia, southern Anatolia?
So I just
assume
looked it
that's
up.
I don't know. I can ask.
So yes, mediums of exchange have existed throughout history, but they did not emerge universally, spontaneously, or prior to from barter. Instead, anthropologists argue that the medium of exchange arise out of credit systems, accounting, and social obligation. Only later became generalized unanimous money. So, but wouldn't this lend credence to argument that there has been mediums of exchange that have existed without some sort of state?
Does it say that? Does it say they've existed without a state? I'd love to see any examples of it. I mean, I'm interested, right? If you do have some examples that you can point to of some universal
The Bitcoin
system of
is
money.
a Bitcoin would be an example, would it not?
Now, we talked about the Bitcoin. A Bitcoin's value, it's like a stock, right? Are stocks examples of money? No, their only value is when it's what it's denominated in US dollars. So how could it be?
But you
like
could use a
something-
Bitcoin
Wait
as
a minute, that
you
was-
could use a Bitcoin as a medium of exchange, right?
Could you use stocks as a medium of exchange?
Yeah, but a Bitcoin's not a stock.
Hold on.
You could
What's the difference?
actually, yeah.
You kind of
You
could.
could use both as a medium of exchange.
You kind of
I know,
could
but
use
that's the point. That's the point, right?
medium
You can, bro. You can use your skin as a medium of exchange. Does that make your
Wait, taxation.
makes
I
us
think
medium of
tax.
exchange.
Wait.
The use case here is
All
what defines the label or identity. Like, this is not hard to understand.
right, taxation has been trying to talk for a bit, so I'm gonna let him go. But your microphone is very staticky, so that's the reason why people have kind of been talking as you've been saying, because you can't really hear you that well.
He's doing his DoorDash again.
It's not my mic.
I know it's not
I'm
your
not fucking
microphone, but you
DoorDashing,
know
I'm
what
at
I'm
home.
saying. You know what I'm saying.
A Bitcoin's value is no more tied to the dollar than the length of a board is tied to inches. All right, the dollars and inches, that's simply the language that we're choosing to express the value or length in. But in fact, you could just as readily express the value of a Bitcoin in terms of eggs and say a Bitcoin is worth 1 million eggs or something like that. Likewise, you could express the length of a board in terms of centimeters or in terms of, the length of an average chicken or something. We generally operate in a framework in modern America of dollars, and for that matter, in a lot of countries, we operate in a framework of dollars where we price things in general. We express value in terms of dollars because that's the language we speak. That's the one we're all fluent in. So when we say the value of a Bitcoin, we generally say it in dollars. But to say that the value of Bitcoin is tied to the dollar is no more true than saying that the value of a slice of bologna is tied to the dollar.
So there's a few mistakes that you're making here when you make the analogy to inches. Of course, inches are a fixed value. So these are units of measurement. If you have 2 inches, 2 inches never gets bigger, 2 inches never gets smaller. Okay. Now, however, in real terms, when we talk about the US dollar, this is not true. In real terms, the US dollar can be more valuable or less valuable, right? Now, in nominal terms, it appears to be the same every time. But in real terms, adjusted for inflation, it is larger or smaller. This is not true with inches. It's not true with yards. It's, not true with any other unit of measurement that you would want to point to. So this is something that is just a creation of the state that's imposed. The first systems of coinage, right? The first systems of dollars, all of these things. It just so happened that precious metals were typically used for coinage, and some credit systems base themselves off of metals because like things like silver, so a shekel originally was just about a unit of weight. So that this could actually be an example in your way, but if you had 5 shekels, that was 5 units of a particular weight of amount of silver. It wasn't actually that the coinage existed in ancient Mesopotamia. It doesn't come until like way later. The physical coinage. It was just a system of account through credit, right? That was established because it's very difficult to have. I don't know how you would do it. I don't know how you would have some universal system of exchange that people would agree upon.
So I actually just looked it up. So yes, and this is where things get really interesting because anthropologists explicitly acknowledge many media exchanges that exist outside of states. First framing of anthropologists. So there is a Krawi shells, Indian Ocean trade, the West Africa. It was used long before European colonial states and accepted across independent societies, portable, durable, divisible. There was the war guild system, Germanic Europe, injury, Viking silver, hack silver, no issuing authority, used by weight, no face value, accepted across trade networks, melted, cut, reused rye stone. Prison and camp economies. People use cigarettes for mediums of exchanges too.
Yeah, I've heard that. That's the Rothbard argument.
I mean, I've seen I've seen that in documentaries of people doing that. I mean, I've never been to prison myself.
No, I just mean that's the Rothbard argument of, of course, prison is an anarcho-capitalist system because why wouldn't it be? But so cowrie shells were not used for market exchange, right? They were actually used to pay debts, right, amongst people. So it's kind of like a symbolic gift exchange system, much like wampum. You could use it to make agreements or treaties or,
well, the anthropological. So you're kind of going against the anthropological view because it says here that the anthropological view was that it was a legit medium of exchange, limited purchasing scope, and embedded in normal societal norms and not law.
Who says that? Who says that? Can you get a source?
Can you give me a source on the Krawi shells?
If he's looking that up, while I was looking that up, I asked a similar thing at GPT. Instances
sure, you go ahead.
Unequivocally, precious metals emerged by spontaneous order to be used as currencies. ChatGPT listed Anatolia, Lydian, Electrum. They were using gold, silver, alloy nuggets circulated before any official minting. Ancient Mesopotamia, 3000 to 2000 BCE. Silver and gold. Ancient Egypt and Nubia using gold dust. West African gold dust.
No, this is fine. I'm okay with let's take a look at what examples are being used here, right? So because here's the thing, cowrie shells in any, again, societies that were not like empires or kingdoms, because much like wampum was legal tender in the 13 colonies, but that was after the Haudenosaunee had already established it for their purposes of gift economy. Cowrie shells have like a similar story, that they were collected for taxes in like the kingdom of Dahomey, right? And some, but in the stateless areas, and I'm stating this for reference because whatever source you have might indicate something that it might point to a society. My only question is, did that society, one, did they have a kingdom or an empire? And did that empire or kingdom collect taxes in cowrie shells? Because if it's like the kingdom of Dahomey, they did, we can touch on some of these other examples too. If you were talking about Greece or I don't know. We can go one by one, but I can't remember all the ones you mentioned.
I mean, the Crowery, if you asked about the Crowery shells thing, and then it says John Hogadorn and Marion Johnson from the book The Shell Money of the Slave Trade. What it establishes that Crowies circulated long before European colonial states across independent African societies. Price, wages, fines, debts denominated in Crowies, no central issuer or legal tender law. Direct quote, Crowe shells function as a widely accepted medium of exchange and stored of value
Ask if
across
they collected
large...
taxes and cowrie shells. I know they did. I know, like in the Shanti Shanti Empire. Bro, are you talking to GPT? You're not even typing? This is
Yeah,
insane.
because I'm
asked
too
for
lazy.
instant-
This guy's insane.
Okay, what? It's unequivocally stable societies where they can collect taxes in the
So,
given
yes,
precious metals, not cowrie shells, but precious metals. It spat out pre-state Mande and Akan communities in West Africa, Tuareg nomadic societies, gold and salt were being used.
Yeah, so to answer your question, yes, some
along
states...
along trans-Saharan
Sorry, I
trade
thought
routes.
you're done. Yeah, so to answer your
I was just
question...
going to list a few more that...
Oh, sorry, I thought you
You
were
guys
done.
are both. You guys are all like.
I keep
lagging,
thinking that
talking
you're
over
done,
each
and
other.
then you talk, and then I'm sorry. I'm. Go ahead.
I
go
think
ahead.
because he's lagging.
Yeah, it's because you're lagging, bro. That's the
No.
issue.
Relevant,
That AnCap internet.
relevantly, one of them is
He
called
doesn't
Yap
have internet.
Islands.
That's the issue.
Yap Island. Melanesian shell money networks.
So yes, later
The
some
Melanesian
states
shell
later
money networks are
collected.
not shell money. Hold on,
Uh,
the Melanesian. That was the
yeah.
last example I heard you say, but what you're talking about is like probably the cooler ring exchange, or the shells used for this. This is specifically covered in the gift by Marcel Mauss. He specifically covers the Melanesian islands and their gift exchange economies. They are gift economies. That is the anthropological consensus, and it's referenced in the gift.
Well,
by Marcel
actually, that's
Mauss.
not true because some states later collected taxes with Crowe shells. No, Crowe shells did not originate as a state tax instrument. So they were adopted by states after they were circulated as a medium of exchange. So the medium of exchange actually predated the state. So on that one.
Mm-hmm. So again, we can pull up what the source is. We can take a look at it if you link it. Again, in the same example that I gave for like wampum, something used in gift economies and then later adopted as legal tender. Okay. Not because it was used for market transactions, originally speaking, but once centralized polities got a hold of it, they designated it as legal tender to be collected in taxes for the purpose of market exchange. So, I mean, I'd love to see the example of cowrie shells that's being mentioned and what the literature has to say about it. If you link it,
I could tell you the book, but
okay, what's the name of the book?
The book, I guess that I don't really know where it is coming from. I got this all from ChatGPT. All I can tell you is I could just tell you, I guess, where it got it from. It's the shell money of the slave trade. The shell money of the slave trade, it seems like. And then there's another one, The Origins of Money. By Philip Grierson.
Never heard of him. Philip Grierson.
Me neither. Then there's another book called Trade in the Market in Early Empires. Okay. And yeah, I think that's it. So
let's see, shell money of the slave trade. So I mean that title already sounds like they're trading people.
Well, not
would you say that
I don't know.
requires something like a centralized polity to,
You don't need a state to have money. I don't think you need a state to have money.
I didn't say money. I meant slavery.
A state is Slavery has usually been dependent on the state, but there are some circumstances in which it has been possible to have slavery on some scale without the state. It's nowhere near to the scale as when you have a state. So when you have a state, you're able to externalize the enforcement of slavery. You're able to make non-slave owners pay to enforce the ownership of slaves by the slave owners. And if you don't have a state, that's much harder. But there are some circumstances, such as you yourself, Dark Marks, whatever, you referenced earlier that in the Brehon system they had slavery. That's true. They did. The slavery that they had came in two forms. One form that they had was punitive slavery. If I murdered you, I could be made a slave to your family, which I find this to be a justified form of slavery personally. Now, that was plausible because I then became essentially an untouchable. That is to say, if I was a convicted murderer, then I was treated as an economic outcast. I would not be party to any surety contract network. I was unprotected. I didn't have the ability to act as a market actor. So you didn't need a monopoly on force to be able to enslave me. Having any superior force was sufficient. The other instance, I would say the unjustified form that they had, is when the Irishmen got into conflicts with Nordic Viking rape and so forth, and it would lead to a back and forth conflict. They would sometimes perform raids on Nordic settlements and take, they'd do the classic kill the men and take the women and children back home as slaves with you. And those Nordic people were not able to participate in the Irish system of, surety contract networks and Brehon law and so on. They didn't even speak the language. They had serious communication barrier in those times. And plus it was a very racist setting. The being of a different nation was much more important back then than it is now. So those people are non-economic participants. So if you have a situation where there are people that are non-economic participants, then it becomes much easier to enslave them, even if you can't externalize the cost to any taxpayer. So you can, in some circumstances, have limited slavery. It's just nowhere near as rampant or widespread or large as it has been in, say the American South once upon a time and so on.
If I can add one point, if you don't mind, I'm sorry. The state, the only difference between a state and a normal criminal organization is that the state is legitimized. I mean, a criminal organization could commit anything, any criminal act that any group in a state can do. The only difference is that people look at the state as being legitimate and they get the pass, whereas like criminals, they're generally looked at as being like, oh, they don't get the pass.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't think anybody disagrees. I'm an anarchist, right?
Yes, I know that.
The perception of legitimacy by the public greatly influences what they can get away with doing, how much they can accomplish. For example, we can't construct, even really conceivably, an ordinary non-state criminal gang, i.e. a gang not perceived as legitimate, that would be able to force everybody to fund a nuclear weapons program and then use that nuclear weapons program to, with impunity, destroy Hiroshima and Nagasaki, right? I think we would agree only a
there's,
state
of course, there's limits to it, but, I was speaking in general terms,
Sure. Most activities that the state engages in could conceivably be done at a much smaller scale by private criminals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say that slavery in and of itself is an example of centralization of power, which means that you would have some kind of centralized polity if you are engaging in things like slavery, right? But
that I'm the central I don't know why I'm the slave owner here, but
because you're an ANCAP.
Of course. Of course.
I have a plantation. We could say in a stateless, I don't know, a medieval Somali or medieval Irish context, I have a ranch, right? A cattle. Both of those were cattle ranching societies. If I've got a cattle ranch and I have some, Viking slaves or something there, you might be arguing that the central polity is me, that I'm like the state of this ranch. I mean,
No,
usually
because
when
it's
we
not
talk
like
about
okay,
state,
it's not like there's a single guy that just started the slave trade, right? Or that even individual slave traders are acting independent of some like other institution, you know? Um, typically you have like warlords that would then organize people to then invade places, take slaves, and then they would go sell them. That's centralization of power right there. But I mean, however else it could exist, I can't. I mean, I can't. It's hard to imagine other examples that wouldn't be examples of like centralization, because either you'd have some policy that you would institute that says, oh, for purposes of restitution, this person is indebted to this person's family, right? Like even that requires some, kind of polity organization. But regardless, I mean,
well,
um,
the Brehon was not an organization. The Brehon system was entirely decentralized. There wasn't like
They were a bunch
the
of
Brehon.
it was clans. It was clans, right? It was a clan-based system. Again, they had like kinship based blood feuds amongst each other to settle disputes, right? They had
Most,
kinship militias.
hold on, what you're saying inaccurate things. Uh, Feuds in that society, but that was far from like the standard means of dispute resolution. The standard means of dispute resolution was the Brehon system, and the Brehon system was a free market court system where you had generally they were clan elders, not inherently, but generally, and they were usually specific ones who were their father was a Brehon, and they were raised in the tradition of the customary Irish law from the time they were a child, and such that by the time they're an adult, they're a certified expert in it. And then they were also, by the way, the poets and scientists of that society. But largely, they did sell the service of dispute resolution on the open market. They were competing with each other on the market. They weren't like different branches of a government judiciary and different polities. Rather, they were competing for the same clientele. And a Brehon who issues unfavorable rulings or doesn't have a good reputation make as much, because that's his income, or at least that's a large portion of his income, is just selling the service of judicial adjudication, just as private arbitrators do. In the modern day United States, we have the American Arbitration Association, the Mediation Center, and so on, all kinds of private arbitrators that work for insurance companies and whoever else has disputes. I've gone to private arbitration before. There's family court type arbitration.
Even the property and wealth was kin based. So the way that they settled these things was, based on these kinship obligations and like ranks and status. It wasn't okay who has the most money, or something like that. It was fundamentally based on like their rank and status and whatever. And from an anarcho-capitalist lens, these people owned nothing. Okay.
What was based on their rank and status?
The judgment systems, right, and the legal institutions. So the way that they had things enforced was based on, like the social pressure and the kin. It was kin and clan based, right? Even amongst property, they held communal property norms amongst their kin, because it was like kinship alliances. Same as in like Icelandic Commonwealth. These are the two that AnCaps love to bring up. But from an AnCap perspective, nobody owned anything, right? Because you guys don't believe in the idea of like common ownership. So this is really not.
I have no problem with more than one person owning a given thing. My house belongs to me as house belongs to me, well as my ex-wife, and I would be fine with calling it.
Yeah, he's he actually is in a disagree. Taxation is not in alignment with the AnCaps on this one.
No, that's bullshit. No. There's not some AnCap dogma that more than one person cannot own a thing. That's specifically.
It depends on how you define ownership.
This is usually what I hear from AnCaps. I usually hear that only one person can own a thing.
Yeah, ownership is the right to control a scarce resource. Two people can't have that. Can't do that at the same time. That's impossible.
who can have it at the same time about the same thing. It's just they lack a mechanism with which to resolve disputes based on property ownership between each other. But they both still have it against the rest of the world, so it's not worthless.
Well, then it's not property then, because that's the whole purpose of property is to settle disputes over scarce means.
Sure, but it doesn't have to cover any and all possible disputes. You're allowed to have property that doesn't cover every conceivable dispute that may arise.
Then you have
You
have an incomplete, and then at that point you would have an incomplete theory of property at that point, and it wouldn't be in alignment. It wouldn't really be in alignment with AnCap values at that point.
We don't need to do the AnCap infighting, okay? You guys are both very, very Rothbardian, okay? Both.
Quick question to you. Do you have any infighting on your side?
Do I have infighting on my side? I mean, we mainly
do left infight. Have you ever see the 20th century? It's like a blood.
Do you think we should abolish ICE?
Yeah, of course.
20th.
People
if you open any history book about the 20th century, it was largely just a giant bloodbath of leftist infighting.
To control a scarce resource.
Yeah, I mean, as far as infighting in like my room, Turning Point USSR, we don't really infight all that much because we're grounded in principles. It's one of the rooms in here, one of the permanent rooms. But we don't infight too much. We're pretty much like similarly grounded in principles, but we obviously have disagreements. Like today we were discussing like what a particular text actually means, and that was a bit of disagreement, but we came to a resolution. There was one person that was confused, and then we kind of like helped them through it. But that's most of how our conversations probably go, is like informing each other on different perspectives, ideas, and that kind of thing. We tend not to get down to like the nitty gritty. Sometimes like dipshits come in and they kind of throw stuff off course, but I don't think it happens too much. There's like Marxist Leninists, there's Maoists, there's Marxist Humanists, there's all kinds of groups of people, AnComs, Mutualists, and anything in between that hop in there.
When and the AnCap side, there are a lot of AnCaps that do argue with each other, but when it comes to me and my pals, generally we're pretty. I mean, me and Tax, we disagree on very minor things, but we've never like really like it's never been that serious.
Yeah. So like my big thing with AnCap is I think it's just like fake nonsense, and it has nothing to do with the real world. So I don't even really, you know what I mean? It's not.
Of course you would. That's exactly what I would expect you to say, though.
Yeah. But it's like it's not a like fascism's like an actual concern because that's like real, But then I think like anarcho-capitalism is, they don't have a plan on how they want to do anything. They don't really adhere to like principles of affecting
Well, the plan is to privatize.
Well, we have different.
It's like
we get there. Well, I mean, there are some people who have some ideas of how to get there.
We don't all agree on
revolutionaries, right?
Yeah, there's like SEK3 or Samuel Edward Konkin III. He had a pretty good.
Yeah, SEK3. Yeah. So that's the thing. Agorism isn't going to lead us to AnCap, right? He wasn't even
about
an AnCap.
agorism? What do you think about
Of
agorism?
course. Well, SEK3 defined himself as a left-wing market anarchist, just so you know.
I know.
He's more akin to people. I liked
SEK3 so much. I took his Agorist primer, used AI to turn it into an audiobook, and then I uploaded it, the full thing, on my YouTube channel so you could listen to it for free.
That's adorable.
Yes.
Okay.
You're welcome. But yeah, I do like SEK3 a lot, and I think that he I liked his book, but he didn't really finish it, which was I forgot what it was called. Fuck.
Yeah, I mean, I guess here's the thing: red markets and gray markets, right? They're not going to
from
lead
back
us
alleys to the stars. Counter Economics. Yeah, that's a good book.
Yeah, Counter Economics. That's his whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's not going to lead us to AnCap, right? And he wasn't an AnCap, and I think the difficulty is that
he was an anarchist, was he?
But he was close. I mean, he was pretty close.
He defined himself as a left-wing anarchist.
I know that,
Proudhon
but
was
he was as close to an ANCAP as anything else. I mean, have you read his Libertarian Manifesto?
I think that's where he actually calls himself a left-wing anarchist in that manifesto.
Yeah, but if you listen to his if you listen to how he would describe his anarchist how it would play out, he was talking about private insurance agencies, competing private insurance agencies.
Yeah, he was probably a little off on that, right? But ultimately, I think he was influenced by a lot of like the mutualist traditions, right? But
Him
like
and
the
Rothbard were
Proudhonians
friends.
Probably maybe
They were.
Rothbard used to be an actual anarchist. I don't know if you know. He used to be a socialist. I don't know if you know that.
But then he became better.
Yeah, we know. Yeah.
But then he got better.
He didn't.
Sometimes
He got
people
confused.
get sick and then they recover.
A lot of these people would have been helped a lot if they just read like
Thomas Sowell read Marx.
Utopian socialists, which maybe it doesn't make sense to you, but I'll give the rundown. Not only are
also,
they
I read the book you told me to read, Principles of Communism.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah, how did that? Did you get a? What'd you learn?
So basically, it tells you basically what a proletariat is, what a bourgeois is, the difference between a bourgeois proletariat. You know, I thought it was kind of funny when he was mentioning bourgeois proletariat or bourgeois socialists, and I couldn't help but think of Hassan Piker.
That's not what he was talking about. But
I couldn't help but think of Hassan Piker when he said that. But then they were talking about. But the one thing I felt like I just didn't really agree with was the whole idea that like if only the workers just took over the means of production, we would have an infinite, we have all this infinite prosperity and a limitless things, and if only and it's just being gate kept from us from these greedy millionaires, and if only we took over we would all have plenty. And I don't see that happening.
I mean, that wasn't really the argument he made. I mean, mind you, Engels literally was a capitalist. The person who wrote that book, Principles of Communism, he literally was a capitalist.
I mean, I feel like it was close to what he argued. Obviously, I was paraphrasing a little bit, but
I don't think it was. But okay, we can
towards the end that it was arguing.
What did you
I listened to the audiobook.
Question one is gotcha. Fair enough. I mean, bro, it's like 20 pages. You can't just read it. That's all good.
I don't have time,
dude. It's literally a Q&A. It's like question one: What is communism?
Who has time to read?
Communism is the liberation of the proletariat. Question two: What is the proletariat? And they just go. It's like 17
I know.
or 20
I got
questions.
it.
It's like,
I read it.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
I know. I read
all
it.
Good though.
I still absorbed the information.
When we say Reddit, that's just kind of crazy because you didn't read it. But taxation and theft. Did you also see that link from David Friedman where he was talking about competitive dictatorships? There's also a clip of him saying it on YouTube, but I just found that Reddit of him talking about it as well.
I think you should read Legal Foundations of a Free Society if you want to get an understanding or of a better understanding of libertarian ethics by Stefan Kinsella.
I've known about anarcho-capitalism longer than you have. I'll assure you that. Okay, I've talked to you guys way too many times.
But you seem to know less than me, so that's fine.
How long have you known about anarcho-cap?
You haven't. Okay, bro. You say I know less than you. You don't know a single thing about Austrian econ. We talked about ABC.
Really?
Right? We talked about the socialist calculation debates.
Really?
Never heard of the long model, right?
I never heard of the long model. I never put it into my YouTube video. I did know about it.
Okay, what's the marginal productivity theory? What is that?
Marginal productivity theory?
Yeah.
Marginal productivity? I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Because marginalism, right? Do you understand the conception of marginalism?
Well, marginal, as in happens at a small pace or distance,
All right,
certain
bro.
distance.
See, this is Menger, bro. This is Menger. This is like, you know. And
You're not asking. You're telling me. You're asking me. Oh, you're telling me I don't understand Austrian economics, but you're not asking me. I don't think you're asking me a deep Austrian concept.
Okay, bro. It's all Jerkman.
Okay,
you here, bro?
I don't have a problem. Listen, I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of Austrian economics. I may not be an expert, but to say that I know nothing is a bit ridiculous.
No, you said you know more than me. Hey, Jerkman.
No, I said I understand more than you about anarcho-capitalism, not Austrian economics. That's a whole different subject. I've been studying I've been only studying Austrian economics for a little bit, but anarcho-capitalism in general, like the ideology, the ethics behind it, like I've been studying that for a while. I would definitely challenge you that I know a lot more about you than that. I mean, who do you know about? Who do you know that reads that makes books about anarcho-capitalist ethics other than Rothbard?
Are you joking? Like Hoppe? Like, what do you mean?
Okay. Other than Hoppe, I mean, yeah, that's an easy one.
Walter Block talks about
Walter
it.
Block.
Bill
But the thing
Murphy
is,
talks about it. I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
This is a very
Pizza bowl. Pizza bowl.
about. Why are you just having a dick measuring contest
I'm
about
not trying to have
knowledge
a
of
dick measuring
anarcho-capitalism?
contest. I'm not trying to have a dick measuring contest. I just didn't
Well,
like
you
that
did.
he's.
You said
I
you
just
like,
didn't like.
you
No.
know,
You started it,
less than
Dark
me.
Karl Marx, because you're sitting here saying
bro,
that I
all
don't
I did
know
was state a
anything.
fact.
I don't
Listen,
know
all I did was state a fact.
anything.
I said
I defend
known about
myself. I'm going to defend
anarcho-capitalism.
myself if you tell me I don't know anything.
All I said is I've known about anarcho-capitalism way before you have.
Okay, but I know more about anarcho-capitalism than I would say you do. But that's just my opinion.
I don't know anything about anything.
I know a lot about nothing.
I'm ignorant to.
Sithis. I don't know. Marginalism is not some, like, if you can't call yourself an ANCAP and not be able to explain marginalism.
Oh, because I don't know that one thing. That means I don't understand the whole theory of anarcho-capitalism. Wow, thank you. Wow. Thank you to Dark Karl Marx. Wow.
I'm gonna quasi kind of explain to you why this matters.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you know why, like, the whole idea of ANCAPistan, right? That the reason that it works under your view, right, is because competition theory, correct? And to some regard,
yeah,
competition theory will stabilize it, right? So marginalism is the sort of the proof of competition theory, and it was synthesized by the Austrians in like the 1880s, I believe, maybe earlier.
Well, thanks for telling me that.
The reason why Dark Karl Marx is like, dude, this is embarrassing for you, is that marginalism, quite honestly, might be the only claim to fame the Austrians have.
So what does that have to do with anarcho? Like, is that so? Because I don't know, because I don't know one thing about, because I didn't know marginalism. That means I don't know anything about anarcho-capitalism. That's really your claim. No, that really is you guys' claim. I mean, if that's what you guys want to believe, that's fine. But I think that's a bit ridiculous to make the assumption to be like, oh, you don't know anything about anarcho-capitalism because you don't know about marginalism. Oh wow!
It'd be like if I went up to like a day.
I haven't read any. I haven't read any books on anarcho-capitalism. I haven't been studying on it. I don't have a whole YouTube channel.
He doesn't know what dangism. If he doesn't know what marginalism is, he definitely doesn't know what dangism is. So.
Oh wow! Because I don't know that one thing. Taxation. Do you know what that is? Dangism.
Suave.
Do you know what? Did you know? Okay, so I guess you don't know. I guess you don't know what anarcho-capitalism is. Taxation is theft because you don't know that one thing.
I'm trying to do a parallel, right? Be like if someone.
It would be a lot more.
No, taxation. I guess he doesn't know about. I guess he doesn't. He's an idiot that doesn't know about tax. What anarcho-capitalism is because he doesn't know that one thing.
You're getting all emotional.
I was coming from this to like just teach you this of why.
I know. I'm just breaking your balls, bro. That's all.
Oh, okay.
That's fine.
You were actually upset.
No. I'm not actually upset. I'm not.
It would probably be a lot more productive to just avoid specialty terms. To just use the same plain
Marginalism is
English that
special
clearly
determined
everyone.
taxation. You're writing a book on anarcho-capitalism, and if you think marginalism is a special term, you should say.
Ends in
Wow,
ism
what a
is
dick
going to be
measure.
a specialty term. If it anything that ends in ism is going to be an economics term or a philosophy term or something that is unique to a academic
Yeah, like
discipline.
racism is super
And we just
special.
with those.
But anyways, KingSithis.
You could say.
Yeah.
The
You know what?
parallel
If
on
this is your standard for you don't know anything about anarcho-capitalism, then from here on out, your standard for whether or not I have an idea, know something or don't know something is going to be completely like I'm just not going to really take it as seriously anymore because that's pretty ridiculous.
The reason why this matters, KingSithis, is what I've been trying to say for the last couple of minutes. It'd be like if I went up to a Marxist, right, and I said, sorry, a big USSR, like, bro, like, literally the biggest ML,
Wow.
like, Lenin, Stalin, I love you so much, right? And I was like, what's the labor theory of value? They're like, I don't know. Like, we would be like, oh, you don't really know that much about Marxism.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah, more accurately, it would be,
Wow.
okay, what is SNLT? What's socially necessary labor time? And they couldn't.
So because I
explain
didn't
it,
know
and you'd be like,
one
yeah.
thing. Okay, so you're going to tell me that I don't know what the STV is? I do know what the STV is.
No, this is all good, bro. Okay, can you
Wait.
explain to me though? This is all good though. Can you explain to me?
Wow. If
what
this is your
things
standard,
of-
then really high standard you guys have.
what? Okay, dude, you're getting all emotional again. But what
I'm not
aspects of
emotional.
what aspects of anarcho-capitalist ethics do you think that you understand that I do not understand?
Property theory? Our property theory. Because the last
Didn't I
time
just
we had a
describe your property
conversation,
theory?
because the last time we had a conversation, you had like a complete like meltdown over the idea of when I had a conversation with you about communal ownership, and I tried to explain to you that if there was a dispute between two people within the community, you could not give me a solid answer as to how they would settle that dispute. So it seems like you have an incomplete property theory, and you don't. So I mean, any person that understands the anarcho-capitalist property theory would understand that, or at least have a basic understanding of that. But it seems like you didn't. So from that, I can only assume that you don't.
I've heard this all before. Like I don't. I've heard the first time I heard this was like.
But
6 years
you didn't
ago,
have a good understanding of why.
Of why?
And
what?
you didn't, and you also didn't have a good answer for it neither. So
What?
when I asked you, okay, you're asking, you're like going what? So I'll just tell you what happened.
Okay,
When
what
you
do
were
you
in the
believe- yeah, what do you
when we
believe
were
I didn't
in
have an
when we were in
understanding
the I'll just catch you up to what happened. When we were in the debate, I asked you if there's two people who communally own the same plot of land and one person wants to pee on it and the other person doesn't want them to pee on it, who would have the right to exclude the other person's actions? And you didn't have an answer for it.
I literally had an answer, dude.
Okay.
I literally said.
So what was your
if
answer?
there's,
Remind me.
If there is land held in common, anybody is allowed to pee on it.
Okay, so that would then exclude the idea that the other person who doesn't want the other person to pee on it then is not the owner because his right to exclude the other person is being inhibited from the person who is the owner.
You don't, right? And you don't get that you just have like this.
So you have an
idiosyncratic
incomplete property theory.
So you just have this idiosyncratic definition of property, right? Where property is the ability to like kill someone if they do something that you don't like. That's not what
it's not
is.
That okay, yeah, like I said,
That's not what
if you clearly don't have an understanding of how libertarians view property. Property is not you have the right to kill someone if someone takes it. Although that it may be an entailment if someone takes it too far. The idea of property is to settle disputes over scarce resources. If you actually read libertarian theory, you would know that. But besides the point,
that's just an idiosyncratic definition of property. That has nothing to do with.
You could say it's idiosyncratic, but that's completely different than what you described, which would clearly denote that you don't actually have a good understanding of libertarian property theory.
Okay.
I have to point out
things that you're saying. I've heard
you
for years. I just want to let you know that.
You asked me. Listen, I'm not trying to taxation. I already know what you're going to say. He asked me where he doesn't understand libertarian property theory, and that's why I was bringing this up.
Right, but you're making assertions about libertarian property theory that are far from unanimous among libertarians, that are not consensus. Like,
yeah, but he literally
more than one person owning a thing.
No, I understand that, but he literally just said that the reason why we have property is to determine who could kill another person for that thing, which is not necessarily true.
I meant before that. Yeah,
right?
That's a common straw man. That's a common straw man made, is that libertarians think that if a child puts a candy bar in their pocket, then the convenience store owner can pull out a Desert Eagle and blow their brains out. And of course, libertarians do not say this.
I've spoken to many AnCaps that believe they can do that.
No,
that's clearly ridiculous.
Could you name one? I've never met any.
There is a widespread.
If that is true, no. Listen, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. If that is true,
I've been banned from like 3 different AnCap servers.
Listen, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, Karl Marx. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. If the hat is that something that an AnCap says, then we do not agree with those AnCaps. We are not with those guys. We believe that there has to be some sort of proportionality, right, to what is being done to you, right? If someone steals a candy bar, I don't think you could just shoot that person. There has to be, generally we believe that there has to be some sort of threat of force being done to you that meets that threshold, whatever. I know I'm late. It's kind of late for me. Taxation, you say it.
There's a proportionality doctrine, and there's an eye for an eye principle, and all that. Many, if not most, I would say certainly.
Yeah.
Most libertarians have some form of proportionality doctrine and do not say that if I do any level of aggression to you, then you're allowed to, in retaliation, do an infinite amount of aggression or of force against me back. You know, if I poke your shoulder against your will, you can now torture me to death with a blowtorch.
Yeah, Dark Karl Marx, I actually urge you to check out Stefan Kinsella. He basically took all of what Murray Rothbard, Hoppe's work, and he's a lawyer, right? So he basically has a good understanding of how law is. So basically, he took a lot of their work and turned it into, the law system that we have into a comprehensive law system, essentially. In his book, The Legal Foundations of a Free Society.
Because I looked up Stefan Kinsella and a real economist popped up. I know this isn't the guy.
No. Stefan, it's something. I think it's Stefan H.
I like
Kinsella.
to see a real economist to disparage.
No, he's not he's not economist. He's not
legitimately.
No, he's not an economist.
Keynesian economist came up.
Like, no. That's not guy. Somebody else. That's someone else. That's
hilarious.
Put N. Stefan Kinsella. How about that? Or
N.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
N. Stefan Kinsella.
I think his first name.
How many fucking Stefan Kinsellas are there?
There's 2
that would show up in a search.
You are right. The other one is he's another person. But the Stefan Kinsella that I'm talking about, he has a bald head. He has a bald head.
Dude, this guy.
Shut up.
Wait, hold on, Artifix. This is hilarious, bro. These guys showed me a patent attorney. They're fucking anarcho-capitalists, and the guy that they're appealing to.
He's anti. No. He's anti-patents. He's anti-patents. He's anti-patents.
This guy's literally a patent attorney. This is.
I know.
Hilarious.
Listen. He addresses this. He's addressed this many times. Listen. No, I got this. He made all of his work, actually, most of his work, and through all of his libertarian career, he has been speaking against patents. And the reason why, the reason why he became against patents was because he got a degree in the patent attorney stuff, and he became a libertarian, and he started put 2 and 2 together.
Published his books with copyrights. That's hilarious. Okay,
you can't undo a copyright. You do know that, right?
Huh?
You can't undo a copyright. That's illegal. I mean, you can't undo a copyright.
No, but when you publish it, it's a registered copyright.
Yeah, but you can't undo it. Like once you
do you
like
mean?
the second that you write something down, that's copyrighted. You can't undo that.
That's not a. There's a difference between the copyright and the registration of the copyright. When you publish it through a publisher, it's a registered copyright. You understand?
No, I don't think he did anything wrong.
Okay, yeah. Stalin did nothing wrong. Or sorry, Kinsella did nothing wrong.
No, listen to me. But his book is good. But listen, put that aside, Karl Marx. Put that aside. I can assure you that his book is great. His book is good. I can assure you that.
I'm gonna be honest. The guy's just a lawyer. That's his whole thing. He's just a lawyer.
He's a lawyer. And he talks about patents a lot.
Why are you so sardonic?
Yeah, bro. Listen to me. He's good, bro.
Why
Trust
am I
me. You
what?
haven't listened to him. He's good. He's good.
Daddy,
I
you know
promise
what?
you.
Why are you so?
I
Why do
can
you mock?
also.
Why is all you do mock?
I've listened to your book. Okay, so I think you should listen to this book.
Hey, Artifix, bro. I told him read a book. Principles of Communism. He played the audio book. No.
What am I supposed to do?
So what?
What am I supposed? So what?
Oh,
So what?
Dude,
Well, you don't listen to audiobooks?
wait, you can't
Yeah.
listen to you can't.
I do, but I write them
Absorb it
down
unless
word
you
for
sit down
word
and read it.
as
So
to know
what?
exactly what was said and to memorize them later. So if you do that, I commend you. But if you just listen to it and play it in the background, you're not going to absorb any knowledge. Do you take notes on what was read? Do you replay it?
No,
over
that's
and over?
nonsense.
I don't even
That's
have a problem.
nonsense.
Listen, I don't have a problem.
That's nonsense.
That is the
I've
nerdiest
totally-
thing I've ever heard.
I've totally
That is
listened
nonsense.
to audiobooks before. I
Well,
have
you
not
don't
to.
have to write it
but-
down word for word. What I do is OCD.
Oh,
and
I'm so
autistic,
sorry.
but
You guys are a
can
bunch of
do.
fucking grammar Nazi fucking.
No, it's not even that. Bro.
I'm just
It's not
snobby
even
fucking
that.
ass
joking.
fucking-
I'm just
fact that
fucking
it's 20
joking with you, bro. Do you actually believe that I write down
No,
an
I mean-
audiobook word for word?
I hope not. God
I'm
damn. I
joking.
feel like that would take forever.
Actually, he did do that with Capital. Wait, what's the first paragraph of Capital, Artifix?
The wealth of societies in which the wealth of society in which
feel like
the
that would take
capitalist
forever,
mode of
bro.
production prevails appears as
Come
an
on.
immense collection of commodities.
But listen,
okay,
you don't
what
have
I'm doing
to.
right
But wait.
now-
Anyways. You don't have to listen to his whole
You
book.
don't
You don't have to read his whole book. Wait. You don't have to read his whole book. One thing. But you can listen to his interview. Or I can send you some of his interviews, or he talks about. But like, I think you should either listen to Hoppa's book, A Theory of Socialism and Capitalism, or
Right,
listen to his book, Legal Foundations of a Free Society. And these are legitimate.
Hey, bro, send
Recommendations.
Me some stuff. I'll see if I'll look through it. But hey, the reason that
take notes on
not-
You could laugh, but those are good books. They are good books. Those are legit
they might
books.
be the
Oh my
best
God.
books, bro.
Oh
Here's
my
the
god,
thing, bro.
I am so
I
fucking
told
sorry.
you read this book because it's 20 pages, bro. Like, you know what I mean? It's not some crazy long. And you had to audiobook a Q&A pamphlet that's 20 pages long.
So
you know
what?
what I mean? That's
So
crazy.
what? So what?
I don't have the attention span to read paper. If I sit and just like hold a book, I'll read 5 pages and realize I wasn't paying any attention. But if I listen to an audiobook while I'm like, having a war with the cops in GTA or some other mindless thing with my hands and eyes, driving a car, whatever, then I actually do absorb it. I absorb a lot better with audiobooks than I do with paper books.
Yeah, and also I could listen to
Bro.
the book multiple times if I feel like I didn't absorb something. Or I could just turn back the chapter.
Okay, bro. Hey, it's all good. I'm just saying it's not.
At least I took an
like-
effort. You're still breaking my balls, and I took an effort. You didn't even take an effort. I bet you didn't even look at the.
Man. You want me to read Machinery of Freedom, don't you? I mean,
Oh.
it's like.
I
Wait a
mean,
minute.
I would.
I
That
was
would be
gonna
a
say a
good
minute
book to
ago.
read. But I would say, I do think if you want to get that's more of like a. If you want to get, that's more of an ANCAP book. But I think if you want to get the ethics of ANCAP, just like the plain ethics, I would listen to the first couple chapters of Theory of Socialism and Capitalism. And then if you want to like get how it would work or how it could work, then I would listen to Machinery of Freedom. That one is definitely a good read if you want to see how it could work.
Man,
I was gonna say,
here. Let's make a deal. If you read a book, then I'll read this like a book in entirety. Okay.
Which one?
All right. I need you, and this is a real book. This isn't.
Okay, which
I
one?
need you to like really pay attention with it. Okay, so Socialism, Utopian and Scientific by Frederick Engels.
Give me 1 second. I'm gonna look it up in my Audible.
So Artifix,
What is it
I was
called?
just saying, it's called Socialism, Utopian and Scientific by Frederick Engels. But Artifix, I've been rocking with this, and I did some like deep analysis, and I'm really happy with my analysis on this. But AnCaps are actually just utopian socialists.
What would make you
wanna know
think? It's only 3 hours. That's not that bad. I'll get it done. I'll listen to that. I can listen to
ask
that.
you something? Can I ask you
Yeah.
something, buddy?
Wait, we're
just wanna
utopian
know-
socialists. What would make you say that?
I have a question for you beyond this utopian social. Actually, let me finish this because I want to ask him some crazy shit in a minute.
Go ahead.
No. Go ahead, JJ. Finish what you're doing.
Okay. So basically, the reason it's utopian socialism is because they focused on the same. So again, you guys actually come from the exact same tradition. You just don't know it. Rothbard was influenced by people like Tucker, who were influenced by people like, Robert Owen, who also inspired people like Josiah Warren.
Robert
All of these
Owen?
people. Robert Owen. Robert Owen is mentioned specific. Yeah, Robert Owens, right? But he's mentioned specifically in Socialism, Utopia, and Scientific. There's a group of people that believe that you could bring about a change in society through this moral persuasion. And it failed every time, right? They were building these utopian socialist intentional communities based on like these ethical principles, and they thought, oh well, if people see this through moral persuasion, they'll naturally gravitate. It's exactly anarcho-capitalism. That's why the tradition, American individualist anarchists like Lysander Spooner, come from the same tradition, right? Benjamin Tucker come from that same tradition, built off of like people like Robert Owen. And that's why anarchists historically by Marxists have been seen as utopian socialists, because they're wrongly associated with the American individualist anarchist sect. Now, Rothbard had his establishment based off this, then mixed it with Austrian econ, becomes an ANCAP, and then inspires all of you guys to be utopian socialists, and you just don't even know it.
ANCAPs do not inherently believe in like some kind of moral awakening leading to a societal change.
You do.
Yeah, I don't think that's true.
Your entire thing is based on ethics. It's based on
No, it isn't.
moralism, right?
No, it isn't. Certainly not all ANCAPs. For instance, David Friedman, you would absolutely not say this about.
Yeah, he's a consequentialist.
David D.
There
Friedman?
are many. Right, the son of Milton Friedman. There's a lot of ANCAPs for whom that do not argue that for society changing based on any kind of moralism. By the way, I'm one of them. While I do like morals and I hope to see libertarian morals become popularized, I don't think that that's actually intrinsic to the achievement of an anarcho-capitalist society, or even the most likely catalyst for it. I actually am inclined to believe the reverse. That is to say, I believe that you're more likely.
How do you advocate changing?
I don't think libertarians really have morals. In my
Let me
opinion,
finish.
I don't think you guys have any of those. Oh, I thought you were finished.
Well, libertarians by definition do have morals, but an anarcho-capitalist is not inherently a libertarian.
Wait, so you were finished?
Libertarianism is a moral philosophy. Anarcho-capitalism is an economic system. If you follow that moral philosophy to its logical conclusions, it will land you at a stateless, probably anarcho-capitalist legal system. But and I should say economic system, but supporting that economic system or getting that economic system. I
don't believe either of you guys have morals. I don't believe.
I'm of the personal opinion that it's more likely that you're going to see a stateless society lead to a more libertarian legal order rather than the reverse.
Why do you think we need a stateless society? Let's just get that out of the way first.
Taxation is theft.
Shut that shit up.
The state is purely a cancer on human society, counterproductive in every way. It is the most violent and destructive institution in human history. It does not have the capacity to allocate resources in proportion to any quantification of demand. It is entirely counterproductive to all of our ends. and has no place in a civilized society.
Is this Karl Marx? Is this guy a Marxist? Is Karl Marx speaking to me right now? Dude, do you hear this shit?
Bro. He's a
The
Marxist.
state is a criminal organization that comes into our paychecks and snatches our money straight from it. And
First off, why
they
why is
extract our
taxation theft?
surplus value from us
Why is taxation theft?
because it's forced. You have no choice.
Because it's taken forcibly. It's forced without consent. There's
Mhm.
consent. There's no you consent by being born.
Why does that matter?
That what?
Why does
Doesn't
that matter?
matter. Are you asking matter in terms of a value judgment? Because matter is
Yeah, justify your moral claims and propositions for a second, buddy. Just stay with me. What are you talking about? What
saying
why?
that taxation.
What do you think?
Believe it or
theft
not,
Is why the fuck is taxation theft?
No, what do you
Well,
think theft
taxation
is?
is it depends on what you mean. What you think theft is,
Because we have certain
So
definitions.
explain it to me how it's theft.
because
You
it's a
fucking
Because it's
moron.
non-consensual, dumb fuck.
it's a
Non-consensual-
non-consensual taking of another. Wait. We're all
Right.
talking
Well,
at
why
once.
does
And
it matter?
taxation, your
No, no, no,
microphone
no, no,
is
no, no.
breaking up
No,
again.
Tell me why it matters. Tell me why it matters.
What do
That's
you
a
mean,
different
why?
question, though.
What? What do you mean by that question?
are
No,
you
it's
asking
not.
why? You're asking. Are you specifically when you say why does it matter? Are you asking why is theft bad, or are you asking why is it
Jesus
taxation
fucking
theft? Those are
Christ.
two very different questions.
Mm-hmm.
When somebody asks you, all right, why murdering somebody's bad, you don't just go because somebody
We're
killed
not
them.
talking about whether it's even bad. We're just talking about whether there's consent involved in taxation.
Okay, why do I care?
That we're defining theft on the basis
Well, again,
of
that's
whether
So
That's a
why
different
do
question.
I fucking care?
Nobody can tell you what to.
we're
Nobody can tell you what
Oh
to
my
care
God.
about.
Yeah,
No one
but
said anything like
we're not here.
care.
We're not here to tell you what to care about. We're merely telling you that
I think
taxation
this
is
a
theft.
question. So here's what you.
Can they
Here's
not
what you're
answer the
doing, right?
question?
So you establish some ethical claim. I think we're even asking about like a meta-ethical position here. How do you derive your?
No, it is just
meta-ethics
it's just a
regarding
fact that taxation is theft. It is a forceful
Okay, why
extraction
does
of
it
wealth.
fucking matter?
it? Okay, so does that mean you're a moral realist?
It's not about moral realism. If you don't have a choice but to give your money up to the state,
We did.
Why
We're
It's
doing
a-
the
that's a
baby
factual
talk.
Saying
claim.
that taxation.
that's a factual claim.
Saying that
This is baby
taxation
talk.
is
Okay,
saying that taxation.
Listen,
Saying
you're
that
saying that
taxation
it
is
is
theft.
theft.
is
Okay,
descriptive,
sure. Why
not
does that
prescriptive.
even matter? Just tell me why it matters.
Whether or not it
Can you not-
matters is depends on you. What your moral outlook.
I don't
Asking
care.
why
You
something.
care. I
We
do
think
not
that
matters.
fucking
Wait,
care.
we're all talking at
Asking why,
once. Taxation. Go ahead.
asking why something. Asking why
No, you're
something
again,
matters.
dude. You got to go
Asking
somewhere
why
that
something
you
matters
got to go
means
somewhere where
you
you
can
can't
ask
break
for
up because you
reason.
keep breaking up.
I
Maybe
have
walk
no recourse.
outside.
I'm
Walk
in the
outside.
spot in my house that has the best connection.
Walk outside or
I
something.
will attempt walking outside.
These
I will
niggas
try
not
it.
know how to
It
answer a
probably will
fucking
not work.
question.
Bro, imagine
know how to-
imagine
You're
being an
asking a
ANCAP and
question.
not having internet.
I don't know how to clarify.
Do these niggas not know how to answer a
Are you
question?
retarded?
All right, so here's the thing.
Why
bro.
does
I think they're confused about like what ethics is, and this is baby philosophy.
It's kind
that
of
we're
like
doing.
you're
Oh,
talking to.
Interesting.
It's kind of like you're talking to an atheist who's saying that God isn't real, and you're saying, "Why does that matter?"
No, because you said
Asking,
you.
asking why something matters is asking for a value judgment, but value is entirely subjective. I can't tell you what to value, what matters, what to care about. That's on you.
Yeah, I don't think that was even the position. I think the position was, how do you derive, like, when you say this thing is theft, what makes theft wrong?
No, we're not even. We're not even.
We're
on
not
that
saying
yet.
it's a we haven't even
you
made
not
the
understand
claim.
we're not-
We have not even made the claim
not.
that theft is wrong. Although we do agree that theft is wrong. We are nearly stating that taxation is theft. That is a factual claim. That is not a now. Whether or not theft is wrong is a moral. That's a separate moral claim. We are merely stating that taxation is theft.
how is
It
it
is-
actually theft?
because it is a forceful extraction of wealth by the state. You have no choice. That is a fact.
Are you defining that as theft?
non-consensual.
How does that make it theft?
Theft is the forceful
We
extraction.
use the word theft.
Is the unconsensual.
The word theft.
Go ahead, Tax.
The word theft is usually, we generally use that term to reference the taking of property from an innocent against their will. Well,
What
in the
is
case of
property?
any form of theft,
What is property?
that which is
You have
owned
to
by
start-
somebody, and yes, I recognize that ownership inherently presupposes some ethical system of what belongs to who.
So how do we determine what belongs to who?
Are you saying how ought we determine that, or how does it
So
get
if
determined?
my mom comes in my room and takes my PlayStation, does she steal it from me?
Who does it
Probably.
belong to?
So my
If
mom was stealing my PlayStation all these years.
Depends on who it belongs to.
Yes,
You own it?
if it is in fact your PlayStation, then yes, that would be theft.
Well, I use the PlayStation, right? It's mine in my head, okay? My mom bought it, right? I use it,
Okay,
and
then that's
when I
hers.
don't get good grades, she takes it away from me.
Okay,
So
then
what do
Did
we
she
call
buy
this?
it? Did she buy it and transfer ownership of it to you, or did she buy it and retain ownership of it for herself and then simply let you use it? There's a difference.
In what ways, where do we qualify the difference, and how do we establish this?
If she did not say, "Here, it's your PlayStation" or something along such lines, then presumably it's still hers.
She gave it to me on Christmas. She said, "This is yours." She said, "From mom to you." It was signed.
Then that's your PlayStation, and for her to take
But
it would
she
be
took-
theft.
Okay, so my mom was stealing my PlayStation every time I got bad grades.
Yes.
Yes. I don't do
Holy
that to my kid
shit.
personally.
Holy shit, that's ridiculous, bro.
You can say it's
That's
ridiculous, but
fucking-
what's the counter argument?
What's the counter argument? That
My son,
do you think it's okay to steal from
my
people
son
now, or
my son
So-
owns all of his own property. My son's toys, his dirt bike, all of his stuff belongs to him. I don't reserve the right to take it away from him. It's his.
Yeah.
What if your
No, I
son was
also-
using these devices to kill
I
and
also
murder
remember
people?
you having
What if your
in the
son was
back car
using
while
this
you were-
device? Your
you had
son
your
was
son in the
taking
backseat
this
of the
device.
car while you were arguing the age of
wait? You
consent
guys are
and door
asking the
dashing at
same.
time.
You guys are asking the question at the same time. I don't know what you guys are supposed to.
I'm not even asking a question. I'm just saying I remember
If a
you were in your
person,
car door dashing and you were arguing the age of consent with your
I like
kid
how
in
you're
the
just like
backseat.
pivoting randomly. That's really cool.
Well, I'm just saying.
If
Don't,
a person
Marks,
is
do
using,
not pivot
God,
to
you're
something that's
so fucking
irrelevant,
stupid.
please.
Oh my god.
if
That's
a
not
person
irrelevant.
is using property, if a person is using property to assault and murder others, then you can take that prop from that person as an act of defense against the acts of murder and assault.
So you think there are some instances where we should restrict people's rights to usage about things? So where do we define the line for that?
If
Aggression.
I'm trying to stab you,
I'm glad that
if
you
I'm trying
actually
to
have
steal
morals
the-
and ethics now and understand meta-ethical claims when they're made.
How is this
if I'm trying to stab you with a knife, if I'm trying to stab you with a knife,
So
and
you
I'm
agree
not-
that the state has the responsibility to take action when people
No.
are...
No.
Oh, no? So you don't think that the state should freeze your asset when you're giving money to a foreign bank or government?
No, I don't
Because
think the
that
state
would be
should do
a
anything.
breach of the state's NEP in your eye. That would be a non-aggression
the state
principle
have
break.
an NA?
The
What
state
does
is
it
not a
mean for the
person.
state to have
The
an
state
NA?
is not-
No, because you guys are anti-state.
Wait, what
and I
does it
need
mean
to
for
know
the state to
why.
have an NAP? Can you explain
See,
that?
Hey,
I wanna know what
Karl
that means.
Marx. Karl Marx, this is why you should
Wait,
be a
okay,
tanky ML like
Artifix.
me, so you could just blow
Okay.
these fucking people up.
Just like never respond to anything because you're a fucking.
I don't
like,
care
what is
about
the
being, Well,
question?
you guys didn't know how to answer a simple goddamn question earlier, and I feel like I can own this conversation while drunk. So eat my dick for a
Oh,
minute.
you're owning. Yeah, of course you're fucking drunk, idiot. God, fuck you. You act
All
like
right,
this regardless 'cause you're a fucking ape.
Respectfully, that guy, he seems like he's intoxicated and just doesn't seem to be able to hold a conversation respectfully. So I'll wait until he's sober for him to come back.
Hey, why'd you mute my guy? What's going on?
Because he's kind of intoxicated and he was being kind of rude.
I
So
don't think he's intoxicated, bro. I think he's just.
well, that's what he said. So I don't know.
I actually was starting to feel, KingSithis, maybe we disagree. I was starting to feel like we were.
You're
giving
you're
up
cutting
on
out
the
again.
demanding value judgments thing.
I mean,
Dude,
do you
if
want
I
me to
become an
unmute
I don't know
him?
what's my internet too.
Because he was kind of breaking my brain, making my brain
I'd give
hurt.
him. I'd give him another minute. Obviously, it's up to you. It's your room.
All right. You're unmuted, Artifix. Be respectful, though.
He's still muted.
Oh, is he?
I don't. It doesn't
Sorry.
look, on my end, it looks like he's still muted.
So,
It's unmuted.
so
Sorry.
I'm actually Muslim. Wallahi, I don't drink alcohol. You're just a fucking asshole and an idiot, and you got mad at me because you muted me because you dislike my personality. You fucking goofball. I said if I was drunk, I
you
would
were the one
still
that said
own
you were
this fucking-
intoxicated.
No, I didn't. I said I feel like I could own this conversation while drunk.
Oh. Okay.
You just can't
Okay,
comprehend
Artifix,
grammar.
Okay.
Okay,
You
go
want
ahead.
me to-
Do it
hold on,
sober
wait.
then. What?
All right. I misheard you then.
The hell?
I don't know what to tell you.
Bro, he's lying. He is drunk. Only a drunk person would do this.
Oh my god.
Artifix, say your ABCs backwards.
Prove right now you're not drunk.
I mean,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter if he's drunk. It doesn't
I
matter.
don't even think a sober person can say their ABCs backwards. Z.
I mean, I can't say my
Y,
ABCs backwards. Shit. That's fucking.
AnCaps can't even say their ABCs forward.
Oh, shut up, man. I could definitely do that. No problem. Fuck off.
This is true. They don't know it.
Oh yeah. So is
I
this
got
all you
kicked
guys
out of
got?
school.
So is that all you guys got? Insults? No arguments?
Yeah,
Look, bro,
you
I
have
was
poo-poo brain.
literally owning the conversation. I was about to get to a foundational
You didn't ask.
principle.
You didn't even ask a question.
Alright, so
In the
Sithis,
comments-
Sithis, next time I see you, bro, I want you to
No,
read up on
because,
that
like,
book.
Ricio's also not
Oh wait,
real
your bros are
anarchist.
talking.
mad at
Everybody's talking at once. What?
It's all good,
Right.
G. So next time I see you, I want you to read up on that book. What was the book you wanted me to read?
I think you should just read the first couple chapters of either read the first couple chapters of A Theory of Socialism, or if you have the time, read Legal Foundations of a Free Society.
Wait,
Alright.
Theory of Socialism by who?
Yeah.
Kappa. Theory of Socialism and Capitalism. I sent it to you as a message. I think you should be able to see
Okay,
it.
let me see. Let me check my messages. I should have you blocked, but let me see. I'll do
Oh,
messages
that's
too.
nonsense.
That's
For
fucking
what?
hilarious, bro.
I did
That's
nothing
fucking
wrong.
lying, bro.
If you were
I don't
blocked,
even
you wouldn't
block
be able
people.
to be in this room, I'm pretty sure.
All
No,
I
you
wanted
can.
to
You can be in
all-
rooms
all
with
I-
black people.
all I wanted to say was
Whatever.
you guys believe that you guys should have a right to something as long as somebody's not interfering with you. And I think that's kind of
When did
bullshit.
you DM it to me?
I didn't DM it to you.
Oh, you DM'd it? Well, bro, you DM'd me a
Coral
YouTube
Docs?
video.
Yeah, that's
Well-
the book.
Well, listen,
Oh, okay. I'm gonna, bro.
if you
I'm
guys
gonna
believe
read the
that
book. I'm not
nonsense,
listening to your
if you
goofy.
I mean, you
genuinely
could find
believe
that.
this
I'm pretty
nonsense,
sure you could just
if you
Google it.
believe that
find
you
it.
have the right to own a slave as long as you don't interfere with them, they're allowed to leave the house every day. You think that's a good idea? So,
Libertarians
How
are
that would be
against
owning a
slavery.
slave?
That would be
Libertarians are
owning a
against
slave.
slavery.
Libertarians
You
believe
own
in
them.
self.
You're their master.
Libertarians
You're the-
believe in. Libertarians believe in self-ownership.
We believe in self-ownership.
Oh, okay. So how do you own yourself? What qualifies you to be able to own yourself?
Bro, these chapters are hilarious,
You are inherently the.
bro.
Yeah, I
You
think
are
you should. I
inherently-
think you should read A Theory of Socialism and
on your
Capitalism.
side.
That's a good book.
I know, bro. I'm
Right,
literally
right,
reading
so-
the chapter
so-
name
so-
right now. It says chapter 2, property, contract, aggression, capitalism, socialism. Chapter 3, socialism, Russian style. Chapter
Yeah,
4,
yeah.
socialism, social democratic style. Chapter
What?
5, the socialism of
You'll
conservatism.
understand
Chapter
why
6,
when you start read the first
socialism of
chapters. You'll
What
understand why he
qualifies my ownership
names
over
why he says it that
No.
why he
What
calls it
qualifies-
that way.
The very hungry caterpillar.
What makes me able to own myself? What makes me able to own myself? Because I'm gonna hit you with a real whammy in a couple seconds, and you're gonna like this one. I love it. You're gonna wait on it. So, what qualifies self-ownership?
cannot
Ownership
deny-
over self.
The fact
Is you're
that
gonna say
self-ownership
some
cannot be
bullshit
Do
like
you
denied.
want to hear that? Wait,
Right, you're
Artifix,
gonna say
Artifix,
some
Artifix.
bullshit
Wait,
like
wait,
you have
everybody,
in there.
stop, Artifix. You ask a question, you got to ask it once, and then you got to allow us to answer the question. You can't continue to talk after you've asked the question. Please do not do that. So, taxation, go ahead.
Self-ownership cannot be denied without a performative contradiction in the process. By the very act, as Hoppe would point out, the very act of arguing against self-ownership is employing self-ownership necessarily in the process by whatever means through which you're arguing it. And comparably, as I would say, in the form of arbitration ethics, for you to deny in yourself an interest in control over your person is incompatible with the act of dispute resolution, that is participation in some means of adjudication. For you to be participating in a, say, legal dispute.
What if you
This
don't?
is like the argumentation ethics thing that you're
Wait,
about
you
to get through.
guys. We're not gonna listen to me, guys. Everybody, stop. Everybody, stop. We're not gonna do the whole thing when he's in the middle of explaining something. You go, and you make your little quirky. When he's making his argument, you stop talking. When you make your argument, we stop talking. All right, that's it.
Yes, ma'am.
Both argumentation ethics and ethics are similar practical means by which you can arrive at self-ownership, but in both cases, you can't.
Yeah, you're breaking up again.
Performative contradiction in the process. It's logically undeniable. Yeah,
the reason why the reason why you're saying is you should turn your microphone on, your camera off when you're talking, and just have your microphone on, and you'll probably be able to hear you better.
It's not the camera. His connection's been terrible this whole time, bro.
Oh my God! It's David Freeman. No, I see this.
It is David Freeman, bro.
This fucking profile picture. It's scary. It's
all right, Tax, you there?
Dude from
Taxation. Turn off your camera and just talk through the microphone.
Bro just threw up his pea shooter. That was crazy. Hey, so chapter 3, we have defined socialism as an institutionalized policy of redistribution of property titles. That's not even socialism, dude. What are we doing?
Are you gonna read the book or
the ability to employ or something?
I'm reading it right now, bro.
What is socialism?
That's how you gotta again. You
that is the scarce resources used to produce consumption goods.
Can we not have goddamn book club in the
Indeed,
yeah, we're not having a book club right now, bro.
Hey,
read that shit on your own time.
Can this fucking taxation moron finish his fucking point? So go ahead, buddy.
Taxation. Can you make your argument now? Because now that you, if not, then honestly, I'm gonna just leave.
Jesus.
I basically did finish.
No, well, yeah, but we didn't even hear your argument because your mic was so bad.
Your internet is fucked, bro.
It's fucking Chinese Wi-Fi, dog. What the fuck? This nigga in the Himalayas.
I honestly feel bad for you guys, dude. I just want to now I want to donate to you, dude. What's going on?
I live way on the coast.
Thank you.
Bro,
thank you for the donate. I'll take any. I'll take money. I'll take some free money. Shit.
Internet, bro.
Bro, don't pay these niggas money, bro. I need money.
All right,
bro.
can you guys?
Anyways,
all right. Stop. Enough. Are we here to debate? Are we here to?
Bro, I'm trying to debate, but
you can't hear what he's saying, bro.
I understand you can't hear what he's saying, but does that mean you have to keep making comments over and over and over, and then while I'm?
Bro, the guy is incompetent. He doesn't have the ability to
Hold on. What did he say that wasn't? Can you actually provide a counter? You just say, "Oh, you're incompetent. Oh, you're stupid." I don't even know what you're talking about.
No more insults. No more oh, you're this. You're ignorant. Stop, Cam.
No. This isn't gonna go anywhere. I'm genuine. He doesn't care. He does not care.
I know. I muted everybody who's being annoying. So just listen. Anybody who insults another person again is just going to be muted because I'm getting tired of this. I just want to have a talk to AnCaps thing where we just have a talk, and you guys keep coming in here trying to make get gotchas and trying to make fun of us, and I'm not really here for that. Honestly, I just want to have a chill conversation. So if you guys want to have a chill conversation,
people came into my room and they were trying to debunk any of my claims that I haven't researched on, then
that's totally what I said, because I don't have any problem with you coming in here and having a conversation with us, right? And the issue is the name calling. Now, if you can't handle that, you can go hang out with other people.
Look, if I'm wrong, I want to know it. So if you can politely debunk our claims, that's very welcome. It's what Sithis is drawing issue with. What most people would draw issue with is, this is much more so Artifix is doing than yours, Dark Karl Marx. But what we take issue with is, insults and adversarial kind of rhetoric, gotchas, and hostility.
Yeah, obviously that's not adding to the conversation. You're not going to change our mind from making arguments like that, obviously, right? So
I can't. Here's the thing. I don't think I can really change your mind that much. I feel like if I get you to read the books, though, then you'll change your mind.
All right, but like you're not gonna read. I'm not gonna read the book right now, right? Obviously, right? So
no. I'm just saying, if you read this book, you read Socialism, Utopian, and Scientific. I'll read this Hoppe book, and I'll forget that he's a homophobe and a racist while I'm reading it. But
listen, it has nothing. Listen to me.
Does it matter?
That has nothing to do with his in this book.
Wait, was
that
it
has
Marx
nothing
or
to
racist?
do. Yeah, that is true. That
Like
has
your main
nothing
guy
to
was-
do
okay.
with what was in the book. Okay, I would not recommend you a book that has anything.
He was anti-Semitic, dumb
Didn't
fuck.
he have an anti-Jewish book?
Wait, also...
Didn't he call
I don't
black
know,
people the
maybe-
N-word
Didn't
too?
he have an
Hitler was a
anti-Jewish book?
racist.
He also called black people the N-word.
Adolf Hitler was
He
a
did not
prominent
call- there's no
socialist, and he was
instances of Marx calling black people the
he was
N-word.
largely
Adolf
agreed to be
Hitler
a
was
racist.
socialist, you fucking
Marx has
clown.
never.
There's no
Marx has
historian that would
never-
agree with you on this
Yes,
point,
he was.
guy.
Adolf
No.
Hitler was pioneered the theory of National Socialism. Yes.
Oh, okay. It's
Listen, dude. Okay, Marx has never called a black person the N-word. There's just no recording of that ever happening ever.
Yes.
Just fake news.
I don't. Marx was a German. I don't think the N-word was very common in Germany in Marx's era in the 1800s.
I actually
never
don't
said- hold
know.
on.
I actually don't know if he actually said that. I just felt like saying that.
Yeah, that's good. Me too. I also feel like just saying shit, like just off a vibe.
No, but I'm pretty sure he had a book on the Jewish question, wasn't it?
He did.
Wasn't that like anti-Semitic? He has some anti-Semitic shit in there.
Yeah. So he's
That's a little bit racist, right?
So here's the thing. He was doing this like symbolic, and it wasn't like a racial thing. It was a symbolic thing of like making fun of some tropes. But it was, people have argued that it's problematic in some ways. He himself was Jewish though.
But honestly, listen, like I really don't care. Honestly, I'm just bringing it up as a joke, honestly. But
Here's the
listen to
thing,
me. I'm not. But I would say this: anything that Hoppe says that is racist or whatever is like, I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, I agree with that or anything. Like, obviously, I don't agree with racism. I don't agree with homophobia or anything like that. I recommend his books because his books aren't talking. When it comes to AnCaps books, as far as when I'm reading them, they don't have anything to do with that. They're just talking about AnCap stuff.
Yeah, but I mean his ethics.
The only
apparently
form
are
of social
consistent with all these things, right? He's opposed to like he's literally a traditionalist, right? The guy is actually just a conservative. He's a
Well, you could be
traditionalist.
conservative
He
while being
supports-
an
He
AnCap.
supports immigration restriction. He supports.
Okay, hold on.
He's
Wait,
racist.
What
does he?
does any of this have to do with the book he
does.
wrote?
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with the book.
Hoppe,
That has nothing to do with the book.
Hoppe's literally dude. He's just a Republican, bro. You
yes.
sent me a Republican's book, and you're like, "Hey, read this Republican." Bro.
Republican.
Well, I mean, you could have
Are you
some
kidding?
conservative. You could have some conservative beliefs while being ANCAP, but the thing is, fundamentally, like, the idea of being an
Hoppe
ANCAP is
is
the
a-
non-aggression
Hoppe-
principle.
Hoppe is a statist about borders specifically. So he does the thing that you hear some otherwise libertarians doing, where he says basically he'll give the asterisk that yes, open borders are the correct libertarian stance and so forth. But, while we have this big welfare state and all the, democracy and all this statist shit, then to allow unfettered immigration is conducive to greater aggression. Therefore, it's the justified thing. I'm not agreeing with this, by the way. I don't.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. No, I don't agree with that
He's
neither. I don't
literally
agree with that
average
either.
Republican. He's just homophobic, racist. Once borders is like anti-immigration. He's like, dude, what do we?
Listen. Whoa. Just because I like somebody's work doesn't mean I agree with everything that they say.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
Even
They would've
Rothbard had
loved him in
things
the
that I
1950s,
disagree
dude.
with sometimes.
yeah. I mean, just there's some people that make. I mean, there's some people that make really good storybooks that
Rothbard, the
have
guy
weird
who
beliefs.
says
You know what I
Give him
mean?
a break. Hans
Rothbard, the
Hermann
guy who
Hoppe is an
says
old
he
German guy. Let him be an old German. What kind of ideas do you think the old German guy is going to have about kind of
Yeah.
social, cultural kinds of shit like that?
He's not even.
I wanted to say earlier. Now he's. You said he's not even German. He's
I was gonna
Germanic
say,
of some kind. He's either German.
No,
or
he's
Austrian.
German. He's German.
No,
German.
You're saying he's an old German guy. He's not even like, what? He's like in his 70s or something.
That's pretty old, isn't
fucking
it?
80. That's fucking old.
That's
Easy.
old.
70 or 70 something or 80
Bro.
something.
Nearly
What
80.
Why somehow like you have people like Chomsky's 97, bro. I don't want to
He's
hear,
70.
hey, bro,
That's
he's old.
old.
That's all he's
You're
racist and
Is
homophobic.
it? They're both
No,
old.
most-
They're both old. Just because one's much older than
Hey,
the
bro,
other,
no,
don't
I'm
mean
just
they're
saying,
not both old.
I don't want to hear that. Oh, the reason he's homophobic is because he's old, bro. Like that's
No.
not real.
Listen, I mean, I didn't make that argument. Listen. I'll say this. I don't agree with everything that he says, but there are the books that he writes about ANCAP. He has a lot of good work on, and I'll say that. Like for instance, another instance, right? There's another artist, not artist, but person that writes a really good book called A Spontaneous Order. And I read the book, not knowing anything about the artist. You know what I'm saying? Not artist, the author. Sorry, author. Really liked the book. And then I later found out from Taxation and stuff that he was like a racist.
That guy's a raging like
white supremacist. And I'm like, what?
nationalist.
Are you
Like,
fucking
he's
kidding me?
white
But
supremacist, yeah.
his book was really good.
This never happened
So-
to me. This has never happened to me.
What?
I
I've
should
never
point
read
out, by the
someone
way,
who
Never
like
read
that,
something
and
and then
then
somebody turned out
and
to
then later
have
found
views
out,
that you
oh,
didn't
this
agree
guy's a
with.
white supremacist.
Well, I mean, it may
the
not be that
only
specific.
form of socialism. The only form of socialism I've heard of that is explicitly anti-racist is fascism. Every other form of socialism that I'm aware of is at least tolerant of racism. That is to say, certainly, Marxist communists have often been very racist. Fidel
Wasn't Stalin kind of racist?
We're just fucking.
Oh my god, Artifix, what the fuck is happening right now, bro?
Look, I'm not speaking as much about today, but certainly historically, communists have been very racist. National socialists are intrinsically racist. You can't even be a national socialist without being extremely racist.
Please tell me how National Socialism
you're
is a form of
confused. This guy's
socialism.
Oh, yes, the National
These guys
Socialists
are
weren't
legitimately
socialists. Yes, the
confused.
National Socialists were not
This
socialists.
is like the
Yeah,
fucking
National
I agree
Socialists.
with this position that they were not
like the most
socialist.
cancer blood.
All right, wait, guys.
So you said
We're
the
at
only
once.
socialists that you know that weren't racist were fascists. That's what you just said, bro. Like obviously you guys are
No,
delusional.
what I said. No, hold on. That's not what I said. What I said is that the only form of socialism I've heard of that's explicitly anti-racist would be fascists. Their
Fascists are
entire
not
point of
anti-
contention
Okay,
between
sample
themselves.
text. Okay,
on
you're
the
pretty
entire one.
stupid, but you realize
What are
these
you
guys are
talking
eating
about?
better
I'm
than
just
you,
saying.
right?
I'm just saying.
This look, I don't like commies, but this is not a good argument. I mean, Mussolini called himself a libertarian. Do you think Mussolini was a libertarian because he called himself that?
Hell no.
No.
Okay, then call yourself something.
I think he was a
isn't
fascist.
though.
But he
Sure,
also, I mean, but he was
I guess
also.
that's
libertarian. He thought fascism was libertarian.
He did privatize
He was
a
wrong
lot of
about that.
industry. That
Fascism
is
is-
what Mussolini did. He privatized the railways, privatized the banks that were previously
No,
nationalized. right?
there was a ton of state involvement in the fascist economy under Mussolini. Let's not lie.
No, dude, Mussolini literally in the 20s. This was massive privatization.
Was it state-granted monopoly?
This is what he did.
That's a
Maybe you guys
state-granted
don't-
monopoly. Yeah.
It's very well documented how
Guys,
like
maybe you
Mussolini's
don't know this.
corporatism had like
I can
immense.
understand.
So for
Wait,
example,
wait,
they
guys,
did, like,
guys,
they did, like,
sample text.
yeah,
Wait,
The
sorry, guys.
state-owned banks,
Tax.
privatized.
Dark.
The telecommunications, he privatized. The railways that were public, he privatized.
What do you think
Public
privatization?
utilities, he privatized.
Oh,
You see,
really?
this is pretty
what
well
exactly
known
happened?
stuff.
Can you tell us exactly what happened? Do you know? I don't actually
Yeah,
know.
so in the Yeah. So in the 1920s, basically he was afraid because Italy was facing inflation and debt instability and whatnot, and he needed support from industrialists and landowners. And he had like friends that were industrialists, landowners, finance, bureaucrats. And the privatization was one of the key factors that helped restore the profitability and disciplined labor. So he carried out one of the earliest large-scale privatization programs in Europe in the 1920s to do this. It was only time it was reversed was in the 1930s after the Great Depression.
Right, I'm saying. So
what are you referencing?
So wait. Mussolini
I believe that
started
you're incorrect.
privatizations
Wait,
and liberalizations.
let Sample go.
But very quickly later, as you said, they moved towards more state control. They had like a ton of rent controls. They had like a ton of state involvement in education and media, and even rails. Like let's not portray Mussolini as like super capitalist.
Under Mussolini. Therefore,
Dude,
the state
hold
was
on. All I
actively
did was
involved in
detail the actually existing economic state of things and the massive privatization. You can have rent controls and be
What
a capitalist.
privatization?
What?
The only
He did do privatizations initially. Wait, he did do privatizations initially in the 20s. Then later on, they moved away from it. So you don't get to say. Wait, you don't get to say. You don't get to say. No, later, I mean, it's documented. Later, they had the most state control in almost all of Europe. Okay,
That's not true.
So
that's not true.
that is true.
No, that's just not true, dude. Listen,
Okay.
the only time
I believe it is.
the state.
I believe it is
the state
incorrect to say that Mussolini privatized railways in the 1920s. I don't believe there's evidence for that.
Of course,
I know
there is,
communications. I know he did communications. I don't know about the other stuff.
Yeah, the railways were one of the big ones, right? The banks, the railways, the insurance companies, public utilities. There's a bunch of stuff here. I have a paper.
The state wasn't
on it.
involved at all. It was just totally. It wasn't doing anything. In
The
economy.
state existed at the time. Crazy. Fucking crazy.
It sounds like what you're. It sounds like what you're implying is that the state under Mussolini, after he comes to power in like 1922, that the state took things that had previously been administered by the state and instead removed the state involvement and left it up to the market to figure that out. I don't believe that's true of railways or communications or public utilities or any of the things that you've listed.
Left
But
it up
if you have
to
evidence
the
to the
market.
contrary,
This mysterious market, as if the market isn't consistent of people and material social relations, two things that are mediated by people. What are we fucking talking about here, bro?
I don't think anybody implied that the market is not described as you just described.
Well, then why are we
You
saying
can use the phrase "leave it up to the market"?
no? The market was a bunch of people who were bourgeois who made deals with Mussolini to privatize industries so it would benefit them. It wasn't just some mysterious hand and he went, oh, they'll decide this out there in the world.
Free market.
This is voodoo,
The market is not
voodoo
mysterious.
mysticism. This is voodoo
Not
crazy
free
nonsense.
market. How is it voodoo?
It's not mysticism. There's nothing mysterious.
Who is the market?
About the market.
Who is the market? What is the market?
What are you talking about?
I'm so crazy.
I'm the markets. I'm a consumer and a worker, and as such, I'm a participant in the market. Also building a business, so you could say I'm the entrepreneur as well. Likewise, essentially, all of us are market participants. Well, the guy I was responding to is now muted, I think.
He's unmuted now. You can tell because he was talking as you guys were talking.
Saying "leave it up to the market" shouldn't be too contentious of a phrase to use. It just means not structuring it through a state-administered, command economy sector, but instead allowing competing entrepreneurs to figure out how to meet that demand.
Yeah, I'm linking something here, not because I agree with all of it, but I think you guys might like this article by Proxben. I'm not saying I agree with all of his takes, but you might enjoy it. So I'm linking it.
Yeah, you're so right.
KingSithis,
You know what's
are
funny?
you streaming right now?
Going to an event. Wait a minute. Me and Chip is So me and Sithis actually met at an event where Praxben was the security there.
Yeah, I remember that. I was there. I met him too.
That's funny.
That was hilarious. Yeah, he was like, the Praxben was there. He's like wearing a suit and with an earpiece. He's got a suit and an earpiece, and he's walking around because he works for that organization, Young Americans for Liberty.
Oh, I can. Yeah, okay. So he does security. I can see that, but okay. I thought he's like.
I don't think he did security there. I think he was just a staff member.
He certainly looks like it.
Yeah,
he's
he had
walking
a nice
around
suit
with
and
an
everything.
earpiece.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's walking around. He's got like a maroon suit on and like an earpiece, like he's the Secret Service of Young Americans for Liberty.
Yeah.
You know, he had a write up about like privatization in fascist Italy and whatever. I do agree. It's not really privatization when they just like give it to a party member and they're still beholden to the state, but it's like now administered more efficiently. Like that's not. And later on, they moved away from it. So, like, you cannot argue that like fascism is like ideologically capitalist if they just like throw it away when war is coming. It's just not. It's not real. Come on.
Sounds like a bunch of nonsense.
I don't know. Capitalism is not an ideology; it's a mode of production.
I do think just saying, "Oh, National Socialism." I don't think that's a good argument.
I thought the one argument that he made about like, oh, there's no such thing as of there being a medium of exchange without there being a state. I thought was pretty ridiculous.
I don't give a fuck. You can clearly be capitalist and have a state. So it's like, who gives a fuck?
You can be capitalist without a state.
You can be mostly.
Yeah,
you
without
can
a state
be mostly
too.
capitalist.
I don't think anarcho-capitalism is like impossible. That's hard.
Hey, yo.
You can't be fully capitalist and have a state, but you can be mostly capitalist and have a state.
Anyways, I'm gonna go to bed, guys. I hope you have a good night.
You coming, bro?